Let's start. Call the meeting to order. City Clerk.
Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Christ.
Present.
Mann.
Present.
Marcus.
Here.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chairman Smith.
Here.
Mayor Chairman Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
The invocation tonight is with Associate Pastor Reggie Williams from Lancaster Baptist Church.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Let's begin with a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, Lord, we truly thank you, Lord, for this day that you have given to us. Lord, we thank you for this country that you have allowed us to be born a part of. And Lord, as we look forward to in these next couple of days, Lord, celebrating, Father, just this country getting another year older, Lord, how we need your grace. And Lord, we do think of our military. We thank you, Lord, of our public officials. Lord, how we just ask that you would give them, Lord, just your extended grace. And, of course, our president. And, Father, we thank you, Lord, for the city of Lancaster. And we thank you, Lord, for, Lord, the leadership here. We just ask that this meeting, Father, would be glorifying. We ask that your hand, Father, would be upon it. Lord, we thank you for this. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Mr. Mann, you want to lead the...
Everybody will put their right hand over their heart, face the flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Tonight we have two awards. The first award goes to Emily Ottinger. Is Emily here? Come on down. And of course you play volleyball. Emily is captain of the Quartz Hill volleyball team, led her Santa Monica Beach Club team to second place in the 64-team 2011 National Volleyball Festival in Phoenix, right? So like you're Olympic quality, huh? Wow, that's really cool. She maintained a 3.0 GPA through her high school. She'll be attending College of Southern Idaho, playing on their volleyball team, I guess with a scholarship, right?
Yes, full ride.
Huh?
Full ride.
A full ride scholarship. Wow. Emily eventually plans to transfer to a Division I volleyball program and major in sports medicine and physical therapy. When I was driving over, I was thinking, I hope there's a volleyball player. My kids played volleyball, and so I'm a big volleyball fan. And we were going to drop the scholarships down to $500 a year, but I can't do that to a volleyball player. So we'll leave it at $1,000 a year this last week. I mean, $1,000, yeah. Thank you. You want to bring your mother down, get a picture? You want to do that?
Picture?
Yeah, he's going to scrapbook. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Tonight we also have an award for Joseph Manning. Is Mr. Manning here? Anybody seen him? Should I save the award for later?
Yes.
Okay. When Mr. Manning gets here, somebody let me know and we'll do it then, okay? The first time we give a Palmdale resident an award. Okay. We have Brian Ludicky from the our planning director, who will present an award.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I'm very pleased to tell you that the City of Lancaster has won an award of merit from the Los Angeles section of the American Planning Association. And that award of merit is for planning excellence and implementation for the downtown specific plan. And I think what's really great about this award is that lots of places make plans and they sit on shelves, but I think this is a credit to your leadership of this city that we actually are implementing ours, and that was noted by the jury in selecting us for this award. This is the award, and I think this is something that the city should be very proud of. As one of the people I spoke with said, it's amazing to watch something go from just an idea to implementation in the amount of time that it's happened in Lancaster.
Wow, that's really cool. Show the folks.
It's great when Pasadena and Glendale are asking how you did it.
Somebody was asking me that today from the press, and I told them I was blessed with an incredible staff. I mean, you know how cool it is to be elected mayor and walk in to a staff that was this ready to go and this professional and this bright and this aggressive. I mean, I felt like I was right at home from day one. I can't tell you what a blessing that was. Thank you. And we have a unveiling of a city poster by council member Marcus.
Yes, not long after I was elected to the city council, I had a constituent, Jeff O'Brien, came to me and said that he'd been in D.C. and that he had been in Congressman McKeon's office and McCarthy's office, and that they had beautiful posters representing Bakersfield in different areas, and there wasn't one of Lancaster. So the staff has worked really hard on this, and this is the poster that this is the final, and I think we're very proud of it. It's a gorgeous poster. It's a gorgeous picture with the ribbon that goes through the middle of that, just depicting our past, present, and future. Well, what's unveiled tonight is, and been told about, and they're winning awards for, is the Boulevard, and so it goes from the old hotel all the way to Beck's and the Boulevard. And one of the main things in there is the family-friendly atmosphere that we want to keep Lancaster to be known as. And it just highlights, I think, the rodeos in there, the Jethawks, of course, our main events are in there, the fairgrounds, the what do we do that on the Boulevard when we get in those little go-karts and go-karts?
That's a very serious race.
I know. But there's a little bit of everything in there, and I think it's a poster we can be really proud of, and the staff once again stepped up. And, you know, Mayor Parris, I think what you said is really profound, that's the staff has been chomping at the bit for years to just be given a little bit of leeway and show what they can do. Yeah. And they're doing it every day. We're very proud of them. So,
no, I want you to. This was your idea.
how about we all get a picture?
Oh, come on. You can do it by yourself. All speaker cards must be filled out and submitted prior to the agenda item being called. The same rule applies if you wish to speak on non-agendized items at the end of the meeting. Following this process will allow us to conduct a timely and orderly meeting. Thank you. City Manager, anything to be removed?
No, sir.
Anything you want to pull for discussion on the agency consent calendar? Okay. Is there a motion?
Move that we adopt the agency consent calendar as currently comprised.
I'll second.
All in favor? Well, let's just vote. How about that?
Where's my voting?
It's unanimous. New business. We'll now hear the staff report regarding RNB 1 from Housing Director Elizabeth Brubaker. Did I forget something?
No, Liz hasn't done a presentation in a while. We were just commenting on that.
So I'll make it real short.
No.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor Paris and City Council members. Catholic Charities has operated the shelter on behalf of the Lancaster Redevelopment Agency since December of 1989, but recently notified the agency that it can no longer operate the shelter. The shelter is the only one of its kind in the Antelope Valley, serving both men and women. The shelter provides emergency and transitional housing. The agency released a request for proposal to find a qualified operator to fund and manage emergency and transitional housing. Grace Resources, with approximately 20 years of experience in assisting the homeless population in the Antelope Valley, was considered the most qualified to operate the shelter. Currently, the organization provides services to persons in crisis who need assistance in preventing homelessness and to those persons who have become homeless due to unusual or unfortunate experiences in life. At present, Grace Resources provides emergency groceries and food, which is distributed to about 96,000 people per year. The goal of Grace Resources is to provide shelter, food, and case management services to homeless men, women, and children in the Antelope Valley. They are committed to the continuum of care concept and strive to utilize both internal and external resources to help the homeless move into transitional permanent housing. Grace Resources and the agency will work in partnership to operate the shelter and achieve the goals of Grace Resources, the Redevelopment Agency, and the community. Steve Baker would like to say a few words on behalf of Grace Resources and will be happy to answer any questions you might have. Steve, you're welcome.
Mayor, City Council, and friends. Proud to be here. This is a great event for us. It almost seems like a natural step for what we've been doing for 20 years. And as I think back, it was about 23 years ago that our friend Frank Visco had the vision and surrounded a lot of people, and I think hit some of you guys up to build that facility. And what a treasure it's been. I will spend the next year thanking Catholic Charities for their work over the last 20 years and allowing us the opportunity now to step in and make a different kind of difference for the people in our valley. I think you will see a difference for people on the street. I think you will see a difference in the attitude of some of our homeless folks and the near homeless folks, and especially those who are homeless for the very first time. We have a lot of people who are in trouble for the first time in their lives, and they're not young, and they don't know where to go for help. And so that's what we want to step up and take care of to help them out. There are a lot of people who came here in support of this. Some I don't even know. So if you are here to support this notion, would you raise your hand? And I'm very impressed with that. That's very exciting. And so I'm thrilled. If you have any questions of me, I'd be glad to answer them for you. It's a little scary, but it's not the scariest thing we've done in 20 years, and we're going to step up and make it work.
You brought my mom.
Yeah. Your mom is one of my main volunteers at Grace Resource Center. She's the one that cracks the whip and keeps everybody in line. So, yes, she is here to support this as well.
Good move.
Thank you. Works for me. So we're just really proud to be part of the process.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do.
Yep.
You're doing a fundraiser through the fair. Can you explain that?
Yeah, but I can't do it in 3 minutes probably.
No, you're not. You're the
thank you.
You're the presenter. You don't
well,
have.
2 years ago, the fair asked if we could do a.
Steve, you're the presenter. You don't have a time limit.
Oh, thank you. Oh, good. Well, we'll serve dinner later. 2 years ago, the fair asked if we could do a food drive. The 2 hours of the first and last Sunday of the fair. And that first year, we collected 1,500 cans of food. So if people brought 5 cans, they got a free ticket into the fair and a free ride. I said, that worked. Can we do it next year, which was last year? I said, sure. Well, in those same 4 hours, we collected 6,000 cans of food. It was incredible. And so Danny Jacobs went, cha-ching, these people know people. And so we've been working for about 8 months and we have put together a plan where the pre-sale tickets to the fair are $6. Once the fair starts, admission is $9. So at a $3 discount, people can purchase the tickets starting this Friday, July the 1st. And we're helping them do that. And so we have taken on board all 6 Albertsons, Food Warehouse, Food for Less, Vallarta, plus we had Lockheed and Northrop and several aircraft companies and Cullen Insurance and you name it. The open pit mine, Rio Tinto's involved. And so for every ticket that's sold between this Friday and the 19th of August, we get $1 for each ticket. And we've already raised $9,000, and we just kicked it off last Thursday with a press conference. So that's going very well, and our goal is to sell 100,000 pre-sale tickets for the fair. And $100,000 to us is like $1 million in the summer, because it's really hard to raise money in the summertime. So thank you for asking, but
Who do they contact?
Grace Resource Center, or you can go on the web and find out too. Our website is graceresources.org, but we're selling them all the markets starting the 1st, and then at Grace Resource Center as well. 940-5272. Any other questions? Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Diane Grooms.
Hi, I'm here wearing several hats today in support of Grace Resources taking over the operations of the Lancaster Community Shelter. First of all, I want to thank the city and the Redevelopment Agency and everyone who has really worked so long to help us keep this shelter. It is what's keeping so many of our families from being on the streets. It's absolutely imperative and a part of our continuum of care. It keeps us in the good graces of LASA, as much as we can, and we certainly want to maintain that relationship so that we can get our fair share of tax dollars up here to support people who are at risk of homelessness. I'm the chairman of the Antelope Valley Homeless Coalition. I also work at Valley Oasis, and I'll tell you, as an agency, we were very interested in applying to be the operator for this entity. Unfortunately, it fell at a bad time for us financially, and it was a pure fiscal issue, not any lack on our desire to operate the shelter, but just the timing of our grants and everything that was happening. We knew we needed to make sure we sort up our current programs and not take that big step. It was just too big a step for us to take at that moment. So we're very grateful for Steve and all of the many people that support him, and we'll support him in every way that we can as an agency. From my other hat as an elected board member of the Lancaster School District, we have worked for the last 3 years to educate staff members at the school district about what to look for in terms of a child being at risk of homelessness. 3 years ago, on our consolidated application to the state, they put down that there were 17 children who asked for help because their family was going to become homeless. Since this training, in this past 9 months, over 300 families have asked for help because they were at risk of being evicted or they had already been evicted. So what we have to do is let folks know that we are available to help, and I really do appreciate Steve's grapevine more than anything else, because we will get the word out that people can get access to help no matter what their financial circumstances. And I think you'd be amazed at what we have learned about our own homeless. I have been amazed, and that's why I've stuck with it now for 19 years. So I want to thank every volunteer who's worked on any homeless program or food program for the past 2 decades, because it really has brought our community together in many ways that we'll never know. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Reeves.
First of all, I want to preface my remarks by informing the council that at one time I was a candidate for the United States Congress in the 25th Congressional District in Los Angeles, and I was instrumental in getting a branch office of Social Security in my community. And I also served as a reserve police officer in Central Division in downtown Los Angeles, and I had a lot of contact with missions. Tonight, I think that we ought to step back for a minute before the city commits to taking over and helping the Grace Resource Center. God bless you, Mr. Baker, and God bless all the people that do the fine work in this community. I don't question that. I question that whether the city is qualified to take over a mission, and whether we should contact some of the missions down below and see if we could work with them in providing these services with Grace. Once you take over a facility like this, we have it forever. It's ours. And are we qualified? Will we continue to get federal money and assistance in the future to help us support this? There was an interesting article today in the AV Press by Supervisor Michael Antonovich, in which he reminded us that the Sheriff's Department may be responsible for many felons transferred to the community by the state of California, and that the Sheriff's Department and the county may have to release some of these people into the community. So we may be in a situation where we have people that are released into this community that the first thing they would do is go to this shelter that we're running. So we ought to consider that as we make a viewpoint. In essence, I think we ought to contact down below some of the other missions before the city takes possession of it. It will not hurt to investigate this further before we commit ourselves. And Elizabeth, you did a great job on your staff report. I learned more about the mission than Grace Resources than I ever did before. Great report. But let's step back, contact other missions, see if we can partner before we commit ourselves to this undertaking. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff Berg.
My name is Jeff Berg. I'm pastor of Lutheran Church of the Master here in Lancaster. I've been a resident for only 7 months here, but in that time I have come to know that our congregation in particular is devoted to helping the homeless and those who don't have enough in this valley. We serve a meal, provide and serve a meal one time a month at the shelter. We also provide an awful lot of gifts in kind to Grace Resources. Personally, my wife volunteers 3 days a week at Grace Resources, and I have volunteered there a few times. So just to tell you that we are committed to the homeless in this community. I'm also part of a group of mainline pastors, about 8 or 9 churches that get together once a month. And we also want you to know that the churches in this community are behind this project of Grace Resources, continuing to run the shelter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Diane Moskowitz.
Just want to take a moment to thank Councilman Mann for representing the city of Lancaster 2 weeks ago and making a lovely presentation on the occasion of Jewish Temple Beth Knesset Bamidbar's 60th anniversary. It was very kind of you to come. We appreciate your attention. And not only did you make a nice presentation, you even stayed and participated in our service. So we very much thank you for that. Concerning Grace Resources and the homeless shelter, I wrote an article to the editor 2 or 3 weeks ago expressing my concern over the possible closing of the shelter. It can't be. It can't be. I cited percentages of the homeless that are vets, and just those people alone deserve way more than considering closing. I'm very pleased that we possibly have found an alternative to closing, but I do have a major concern about Grace taking over. Of course, I'll be the first to admit my concern is based on what I hope to be an urban rumor. It's been said that while Grace is the predominant source of help to the needy in the Antelope Valley, It's also said that in order to receive their services, one is required to pray. Sometimes I wonder if I were chosen to deliver invocations over the next 20 years and chose to deliver them in Hebrew, how would that be accepted? I don't think very well. I'd like to know if it's true that prayer is a requirement in exchange for food, and if so, will it be a requirement for a bed? I don't think it's right to have one to accept a particular religion or probably pretend to accept a particular religion in order to receive services at a very needed time. Thank you.
I agree with you. Steve?
The answer is we require nothing religious for service. At Grace, we do have prayer. Can I respond to another issue, too? I work with the homeless veterans. 39% of homeless men are veterans. It breaks my heart because I'm one, too. And we work with a lot of parolees. We already have a connection with a place where homeless veterans can go and not just stay, but be trained and rehabbed, and we also have a place where we've worked with where people on parole can go and stay and not be part of the population at the shelter. So we've put a lot of thought and work into all of this in the process, even though we really only had about 6 weeks to prepare for this event, but we worked on this for a long time, and nothing religious is required to receive services in any way.
Do local people get preference?
Well, honestly, most of the people we see are local, so we don't have, and the ones that aren't, we have a way to try to send them home. So we interview, I probably see 30 people a day, and we find out where they're coming from, where they're going, what are their plans, how can we help them get back with family first, and if that doesn't work, then we see what we can do to get them back on their feet. So I wouldn't say there's a preference to local people, but honestly, most of the people we see are local folks.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Robin Tarver?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to come by and give my support for Grace Resource and also clear up a couple of things. Last Friday, which happened to be the mayor of Palmdale's birthday, I made a comment to a friend on Facebook. And I thought she would remember the day that Palmdale turned down money for a shelter. And I kind of made a little joke about it. Well, it offended a lot of people, and even though I apologized twice, it still is offending a lot of people. What the mayor of Palmdale, Jim Leffler, said, Robin would be better served saving the shelter in her own city. And I read it 3 times and didn't understand it. And so I thanked him because I literally thought he was going to buy me a city. And then he clarified it by saying, I was repeating what you stated at the hearing at the Board of Supervisors. All good. And so a friend of mine told me, rushingly, because we're timed, I said that I had lived in the city of Lancaster 23 years and 8 months. Please let me clarify that. 23 years and 8 months ago, I moved to the city of Palmdale. A year later, I moved to Lancaster. In 1998, I moved to Palmdale, where I've called Jim Leffler my mayor since then. Jim Leffler knows of my good works, and so when he put on Facebook, Robin would be better served saving the shelter, meaning in Lancaster, which he called my city, I don't take that lightly. If there's something which I have no idea what I can do other than buy a ticket at Albertsons for the fair to help save this shelter, I just wanted you and Grace Resource to know that I would avail myself at whatever cost that I could to be of some help. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the speaker cards. Did you have a speaker card, Nicole? If you had one, you can speak. Do you want to speak? Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening.
I was speaking on Mr. Baker's downtown development, which is supposed to maybe be, I don't know, part of the North Transit Authority, which it encompasses homeless people and then parolee people, and if you all notice that well, part of that was part of my design, right? And it's gonna end in like the 5th year, and we're still facing the problem of no jobs, and then what are we gonna do with homeless jobs and like parolee jobs? And I was at the Board of Supervisors last week, and I had told them that the federal administration approved my adaptive model, which is the Fatherhood Project, Project Fatherhood. And what that was, I didn't get a chance to tell them. And if you wanted to shoot me down, but it's okay. But if you want, because federal already approved it. But what do you think? It's a program that would bring the parolees home, but have an ankle bracelet. But it's only like they're out of jail, and the whole financial restructuring is based on us giving money, making our own revenues, and then reducing the burdens and ineffectiveness and the burdens on the bodies of government. And it would bring the guys home in the hopes and the promise that they'd be at home with their children and have a DVD or a cassette that would help them through the parenting program, and that and the moms essentially, which the whole financial restructuring in the people's design is supposed to give us services that we would pay for free. And so the moms would basically flip the bill, for the ankle bracelet. The guys don't have, sometimes they can't just sit down with their kids because they have, their life, but that time they could sit down and bring that bond, together with their family and their kids. So what do you, and also the design for bringing the jobs for the homeless and the seniors. I don't want that program to end, and everything is in the federal administration basically budget. So what do you think? What do you think about what I'm saying, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Smith? You guys?
I don't have enough information, Nicole.
Okay, but it's going to take like a year. It's going to take a year, and what the so far is that some of the administrations are doing is putting a piece for me, this design in each department. So if we could take it slowly, because I have the problem explaining, but I write.
Okay, I'll read it. I will.
Okay.
Okay? Thanks. Okay, let's close the public hearing. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move that we move to select Grace Resources Incorporated to operate the Lancaster Community Shelter.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. And it's unanimous. Okay, we have a staff report on RNB 2 from the city manager. Yeah, let's take 2 minutes, okay? Okay, let's start back up. For the remainder of the meeting, I'm appointing the Vice Mayor Sergeant of Arms in regards to public comment.
Wow.
Now,
Mark, sit down.
That was workplace abuse for anyone who wanted to know. Mayor Paris, City Council members, give a short report on this. As you well know, the state of California, the legislature, voted incredibly to discontinue redevelopment, bills AB 26 and 27. They are budget trailer bills that were not put forth to the governor when he vetoed the full budget. Incredibly, those bills are back. I'm not going to go into all the details, but suffice to say those are some of the worst bills ever to come out of budget. They would single-handedly stop redevelopment in the state of California. Redevelopment has not done a good job of really telling its story. Everything you see in this city, between the LPAC, the theaters, the baseball stadium, the boulevard improvements, the homeless shelter, sheriff's station, fire stations are here because of redevelopment. To make it simple, it's because 25 years of city councils have had control over the taxpayer funds as opposed to the state of California. And anyone who thinks any of those things would be here if the state had control of that money for 25 years, it wouldn't happen. We're fighting for something that is local control, that we can improve our community. What we're asking in this action is, and I believe it's not if, it's when the governor signs these bills, the CRA and the League of Cities will immediately ask for an injunction, and then this will be litigated. There is very good reason to believe there's a lot in these that are unconstitutional. What we're asking is that you authorize the City of Lancaster to pay our fair share towards that legal defense, which is $15,000. We would take it out of existing legal funds, and the litigation would be coordinated with CRA and League of Cities. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
any questions? Thank you. Michael Reeves?
On the Internet, Mayor, Council, on the Internet yesterday there was a statement about the redevelopment agencies, and it started out by the state budget accord between Governor Jerry Brown and Democratic legislators announced Monday pushes redevelopment agencies closer to the brink of elimination. And they expected those bills to pass today. And it says the bills don't kill redevelopment, they starve it to death. The first bill eliminates the program. The second bill allows agencies to reconstitute themselves if they dedicate some of their property tax revenue to schools. So rather than spend $20,000 of taxpayers' money to get in litigation, I wonder if the League of California Cities could work to try to deal with the second part of this bill that would allow the agencies to reconstitute themselves if they dedicate some of their property tax revenue to schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Parsons?
Hi. I just wanted to start off because you called and for Mark to speak on the freedom of speech or something. And I just wanted to let you know that that's like a constitution or that's like in the highest court of the Supreme Court.
Speaker's off point, Mr.
No, I'm not. Okay, then let me stay on point. I suggest that you all, that we all, for the betterment of all of us, and to get past the pettiness, go ahead and pay. Just go ahead and pay where you guys are might be wrong, and correct it, and just say for instance, because Mayor, you know. Running up in someone's house for a compliance check, that's not how it's supposed to be. And the redevelopment is not what they want.
Nicole?
Yes, sir.
You have put a card in on every item.
Yes, sir. I should stay to point. You're right.
Okay. So why don't you just wait until the public comment, and I'll give you 6 minutes. How's that?
Okay, sir. No, I would.
I'm trying to make a deal with you here, Nicole.
And I'll leave.
Okay.
Okay. that's not what the governor wants, and what we can divert possibly is our licensing fees, and he wants something like it's called the blind apps. And if I could take the time, I could show you what the governor wants, and it was a reconciliation type thing. I could show you too, but I can't do it quick. But I mean, it's already done. But if you give me my dues for maybe I could do it.
Okay, but we can't do it, and we got all these people waiting. So let's do it some other time, okay?
Okay.
Okay? Good. Thank you. Okay. Okay. That's all. The end of the speaker cards. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move that we support the California redevelopment legal battle.
I'll second.
We need to amend that for the appropriations of funds. Because that's the main motion for the appropriation, just as long as we add that to it. I'd like to withdraw or amend, it's fine.
If the motion was to move the staff recommendation, that would cover it.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll be include the appropriations.
Good. Thank you. Okay, let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay, new business. Public Works Director Robert Neal.
Good evening, Chairman Paris and Lancaster Power Authority board members. 2 months ago, we entered into an MOU with U.S. Topco Energy to investigate renewable energy opportunities that might take place if we work together. As a result of our work, I'm bringing two things to you tonight. One is a master purchase and sale agreement for the development of photovoltaic generation facilities. And the second is an amended MOU that expands the scope of our working relationship. Business item number 1 here confirms our mutual commitment to work on renewable energy projects, expanding the scope from 50 megawatts to up to 200 megawatts potential under this agreement. It also explores the possibility of other projects. One in particular would be a property assessed clean energy program. If we are successful, I would hope that I could bring back to you implementing agreements for such types of programs and describe to you in great detail what those are about. With that, I'd just like to conclude my remarks on new business item number 1 and answer questions.
Any questions? Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Reeves.
In the original agreement with Topco, it says that the memorandum of understanding will not commit the city to any current or future expense. It will, however, commit city staff time in an effort to establish this partnership. The question is, how much is it going to cost us to have this partnership? Who's going to pay for our staff members? Are we going to get additional revenue from the Topco company to take care of our staff people? That needs to be addressed. And also, the amendment part of this with the confidentiality and stuff. Are our citizens going to be able to request information about this project when they wish it? Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the speaker cards. Do we have a speaker card for him?
Let's see for that one. That was...
Not for that item. Okay, it's not here. Please don't disrupt the meeting. Thank you. All right, is there a motion?
Matter wrote NV1 on that.
Or is there discussion?
I'll move that we approve the authorization of the executive director to execute the amended MOU with Topco.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay. New business item 2, Robert Neal.
This item, Chairman Paris and authority members, is an agreement between U.S. Topco for the development of photovoltaic power generation facilities. It would obligate the city to provide 25 acres on which U.S. Topco would construct 7.5 megawatts of a photovoltaic generation facilities. The properties are identified in the staff report. The electrical power created by these facilities would be sold to SCE under the CREST program, which helps Edison meet its mandated renewable energy goals. Under that agreement, the city would receive 12% of the revenue for our participation, which we estimate to be about $3.9 million over the life of the agreement. This is a master agreement establishing terms and conditions for potentially more projects. And we expect to work with U.S. Topco in doing that and establishing a long-term stable revenue into the city and also making Lancaster the place for renewable energy. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you.
Mayor Paris, I'd like to add that any specific project would come back to the council for approval.
Thank you. Any questions?
No questions. There's no speaker cards on NB2 for the authority.
Yeah, there is. I filled out one. I filled out a speaker card. I know for a fact.
There's the city attorney. Go over and talk to him. Do not disrupt this meeting again, or I'll ask them to remove you. All right?
I'll
Thank you.
myself because I filled out a speaker's card. How dare you?
Grajeda has one. Just to clarify, Mr. Grajeda put in one for NB2 and NB1 for not the Power Authority, but for the agency, for the council.
Council? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't clarified for the Power Authorities.
Up until now, what we've had is the Redevelopment Agency meeting. You know, we do them both together. We're now going into the council agenda. And just so any of you are concerned about what just occurred, the speaker cards that he submitted were for the council agenda, not the Redevelopment Agency agenda. Sorry for all that. All right, back to is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve and authorize the executive director to execute the master solar power purchase and sale agreement with U.S. Topco.
I'll second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay, now we're on to the council. Nicole, you really don't want to talk about approval of the minutes.
Which one? We should follow the whole down the page or something. Put the
Okay.
R and the NB.
We'll skip over the minutes, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Thank you. Now, on to the consent calendar for the council.
Mr. Mayor, according to the council's policy, if there's a speaker card on any CC item, we pull it. There is a speaker card on every consent item.
And who are they from?
We have several from a number of different people. Nicole has one for each one, but
I thought we had a deal.
No, I said no, thank you. Thank you for no.
so
My 5-year plan, my 5-year people's design, that's supposed to be for like a model for the.
Nicole, I will meet with you sometime this week, but I can't have all of these people that we pay an enormous amount of money to sit through all this. Is that a deal?
You are taxing on all of our.
Okay, are you willing to make the trade?
If I can tell the one, I can say one travesty, and then you guys can answer just 1 minute.
All right, you got 1 minute, and I'm pulling the rest of these cards. Thanks.
Okay. I think you guys are maybe, we had to work together, because maybe, I don't even know if, everyone's going to be, maybe, okay. I think you guys are defrauding the people and levying the taxes of the sewer to us, because when you guys apply for the grant, you assert that those conditions exist. And the 219 Senate bill was for solid waste consolidation, and the NDPES is for mitigating sticks and run from the river of the runoff. And at the time that you all applied for the grant, and even if it was good, it should be the FOG, the FOD is supposed to be implemented at the source, as like the contractor from the state contractor, and not down here.
Mayor Paris, that's 1 minute.
Okay, thank you, Nicole.
Okay, bye. You meet with me, right?
I did.
You'll meet with me, right?
I did. I will.
Oh, and the bean bags and the light.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Nicole, you had your minute. Let's be fair. No, I will meet with you later this week. Okay? We had a deal. A deal's a deal. Right? Okay. We're done. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, I've now pulled all of Ms. Parsons' speaker cards, Mr. Grajeda's speaker cards, who have just left on the CC calendar, and also several speaker cards that had no name but was called themselves Recycled Developer.
Of course it is.
So we are
Good night, Nicole.
remaining pulling from the consent calendar item 3, item 4, item 5. I make a motion that we adopt the consent calendar as currently comprised.
So moved.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay. Item 3. Oh, the horse-drawn vehicles. Okay. Let's just start with the speaker cards. Darlene Peterson. I've missed you. I have.
Whatever you say. Thank you. I'm just giving you bad time. Many of you have worked long and hard to achieve your dream of turning the boulevard into a destination. A job well done for the most part. However, when a vehicle is driven to said destination, a parking space must be available to park said vehicle. When you exempted the Beck's Restaurant and Bowling Alley from providing on-site parking for their customers like everyone else is required to do, you erred big time, and I believe it will come back to haunt you, unfortunately. That error has caused crowding and a ripple effect on the boulevard. Piecemeal parking after the fact looks like what it is, piecemeal and tacky. So enough already. The boulevard is overcrowded and over-landscaped now. I have heard it referred to as the bulging boulevard and the up-and-coming obstacle course. Cope with the problems you already have. Do not add anything other than parking lots. As an example, when preparing gourmet food, a pinch of spice enhances the food. To add the whole bottle just because you can ruins it. More is not necessarily better. For those who would argue that the proposed roundabout would save time and gas, thereby saving us money, keep this in mind. If we are waiting for a horse and carriage to find a place to pull over so we can drive on through, sitting in our vehicles, we are also using up time and gasoline, thereby costing us more money. Know when to quit. Under no circumstances should horse and carriage rides be allowed on the boulevard, or your dream destination could easily become your worst nightmare. Thank you. And I missed you too. And I'll go to hell for lying just as sure as I'm standing here.
You know, even mayors have feelings, darling. And if you stick around for the rest of the meeting, we'll solve your problem.
I don't have any problems I can't solve
Okay?
with your help.
Jack Carone?
There's only 2 buttons. I have 50% chance of doing right. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Jack Carone, and I'm here to suggest to you that it might be an unfortunate thing for you to allow the carriage horse industry to get a foothold in Lancaster. The advantage that we have is that this isn't a new concept, and it's been going on for hundreds of years. And we have the advantage of looking and seeing what happens in other places that do this. I try to put myself in your place or pretend that you actually asked for my opinion. So I try to look at the possible benefits and the possible liabilities. The benefit to me seems to be pretty well restricted to whoever's going to operate this small business. It may seem like a charming idea to you, but I'm going to guess that the majority of residents here are not going to really avail themselves of it. And particularly in this economy, I think that riding on a horse carriage is going to go way back to the end of the list after paying the rent and putting food on the table. So I don't think it's going to be a big boon in that way. I think other people may have addressed the idea of the cruelty to animals or the dangers inherent in the carriage horse trade. And this is only a part of the math of taking a very large prey animal, hooking him or her up to a heavy piece of equipment, and then repeatedly forcing them to negotiate a gauntlet of scary events and experiences and sounds and sights. Coming into town, I rode down the boulevard and I tried to imagine that happening there with a horse-drawn carriage and cars parked on the curb and cars parked diagonally on the other side, and the pinball machine of opportunities of cars coming in and out and horses stopping. There's absolutely no doubt that there will be injuries and harm and subsequent litigation. The other thing which didn't used to be an issue, but which is now, is every city that has horse carriages is under siege from a very organized movement that opposes this kind of a thing. And today, they don't just depend on their friends that live in their same town. It's worldwide, nationwide, with social networking. If a dog is starved in Newark, New Jersey, within a week there are 200,000 people signed up to that page, and they're being given instructions to email this official, write to this person, fax this person, and literally this kind of a protest can clog up your email inbox. What I'm saying is you're in for a firestorm, and I just don't think the pain is worth the benefit.
You were doing so good until I felt threatened.
Hey, I'm with you. You know, I want everybody to be happy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Alicia Pell?
Good evening. My name is Alicia Pell, and I'm here to voice my strong opposition to Ordinance 965. While listening to NPR this past weekend, I was surprised and pleased to hear a story about downtown Lancaster and the relaxing atmosphere that you've created here by piping music onto the boulevard, along with other positive civic improvements that have been made. I submit that allowing horse-drawn carriages to operate downtown would not enhance or add to this idyllic setting. Instead, it would endanger the lives of any person in the area as well as the horses doing this work. As amply demonstrated by the news articles that I sent to you earlier this month, which I hope you received, carriage accidents happen because horses spook and become frightened. They do this regardless of how well-loved, well-trained, and or well-mannered they are. And when a horse becomes frightened and spooks, common sense tells us and history demonstrates that the horse will not act rationally. Instead, the frightened animal will bolt away, not paying attention to oncoming traffic or surrounding pedestrians, putting any person in the vicinity at risk of grave injuries. As the articles show, these accidents are not just possible, but inevitable. If you're willing to accept this risk, which I hope you are not, I still urge you to vote against the ordinance to prevent horses from suffering. And they do suffer. For instance, they are prone to lameness from constantly walking on the hard asphalt, respiratory disease from inhaling car exhaust, and heat prostration from working in extreme temperatures such as those commonly reached in Lancaster during the summer. Evidence that pulling carriages is not healthy for horses is demonstrated by the dramatically reduced lifespan experienced by the horses doing this work. A New York City carriage horse is expected to live on average 10 years less than horses working for the NYPD, and a full 15 to 20 years less if they weren't working at all. Anything which causes such a dramatic lifespan reduction is anything but healthy. Please do not allow horse-drawn carriages to operate in the beautiful streets of downtown Lancaster. It will make me tremendously sad if the next NPR story I hear about this wonderful city is a report about serious injuries caused by a foreseeable horse-drawn carriage accident. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nan Dillinger.
Good evening. The Reverend Billy Graham said the Bible's emphasis is on the good treatment of animals and not just the forbidding of cruel treatment. I've learned more since we last met. In checking with municipalities who have banned or are banning this anachronistic practice, it appears their omission of a provision for water is because those cities provided drinking troughs. Are you prepared to do this? Are there standpipes the drivers can access without leaving the horses unattended? Or is the omission to prevent urination, which would be inhumane, as horses require 20 gallons a day year-round to prevent impaction colic? No feed provision either if underfed roughage intestinal tract damage occurs. Even in New York, an 8-hour time limit on work time was set long ago. I'm troubled that you allow 15 hours nose to tailpipe plus travel time with no water, food, or rest. The concussive forces of the pavement pounding and shocks from manhole covers cause musculoskeletal damage. A 1,000-pound horse pulling and halting an 1,100-pound carriage with 8 people weighing 1,400 pounds, or an average of 175 pounds, will have to include children or less people to remain under the already massive weight limit you've set. Everywhere else the limit was 6 people, including 2 drivers. I hope you all saw the page I sent to Mayor Paris and Mr. Bogosian from a Horse Breeders Association stating it is only safe to ride a horse up to 6 months of pregnancy, yet you're allowing 9 months of hard work, 270 days of a 310-day gestation period, with the last months being the most crucial. This poorly advised provision will lead to certain death of the foal. I do not believe that anyone who cares about horses, especially Ms. Whitmer, wants to limit horses' lives to 4 years, cause unforeseen major health problems, and cause the spontaneous abortion of foals. I hope you realize also you're being lobbied by only one former driver in New York in various guises, social networking, who had his license permanently revoked due to negligence. For the citizens who look to you for wisdom, please spare them the risk of injury and death from carriage accidents due to spooked horses. I implore you to vote nay.
No, I left that. She's my Pilates instructor. She could kill me if she wanted to. Oh, just so you all know, I'm being lobbied by my Pilates instructor. And I think she has an unfair advantage. Monica Whitmer.
Good evening, Council and members of the audience. I wanted to speak only because I knew that I would have to rebuttal some of the things that are said. I will deal with them in order. Traffic blockage is not really a problem. The boulevard is limited to 15 miles an hour. My horse walks at 4, and if there is indeed traffic behind me and not a suitable place to pull over, I move him up to a trot. We've clocked him on the radar at 7 miles an hour. So we're not that slow, and we get out of the way. We've driven on the boulevard 8 times now, and everyone smiles. No one has been upset. As far as other traffic, the cars tend to yield to me when I don't want them to. Nobody is angry at having a horse on the boulevard. We have had no close calls. We have had no spooking. We've not even had a problem when the fire truck came by. When you say a horse will always spook, then you don't know mine. Spooking is a horse that is stressed. Spooking is the result of a horse that doesn't know his job. Mine knows his job, and he trains without blinders. He is given free view of the traffic around him. This makes him very different than the New York horses. And Lancaster is not New York. We don't have the fumes of commercial traffic. We do not have the heavy traffic. So to compare what we are offering to what goes on in New York is apples and oranges. The one thing I will say is that we already presented 2 weeks ago a code of ethics as to how we will treat our horses. Whether the municipal code requires it or not, our horses will not work more than 3 hours before they are unhitched, provided food, water, shade, fresh fly spray. They will get 30 minutes off. They would not work more than 2 work sessions in a day, total 6 hours. They would not work more than 4 days a week. On their days off, they will be turned out into pastures so they can move around and be horses. They will not be treated the way the New York horses are. I don't know what to offer beyond that. The businesses of the boulevard think this is a good idea. The people who have been on our carriage know that this is a really exciting experience. It's pleasant, it's positive, and we think it will augment the boulevard. We do not plan to drive directly up and down the boulevard. We have routes that take us off the boulevard, and that's a major part of it. I don't want to be on the boulevard nonstop either. This is supposed to be fun for us. We want to be able to share it with other members of Lancaster, and the only way we can do that is if we have a commercial license. Otherwise, we can drive on the boulevard all we want anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Pauline East?
What's that?
Pauline East? Not here? Okay. Okay, that concludes the speaker cards. Any discussion?
Mayor Paris, I just want to make sure that for clarification, when we, I believe we postponed the last time to this meeting. I just wanted to clarify that the motion that I understand with the ordinance 965 is to put this on a 6-month basis, trial basis. I just want to make sure that there was, to clarify that for the record. I think that clearly, at least from my peace of mind, would give us the opportunity, if some of the things that have been brought forward or the comments alleged about New York possibly taking place here in Lancaster, I think it would give us great oversight to be able to put the brakes on and say the horse and carriages is not going to work for the city of Lancaster. And that would be the only way that I would be in favor of moving forward on ordinance number 965.
Anyone else?
I do. Just a couple comments. It is 15 miles an hour. I don't think the citizens are going to be real happy with it going to 7 miles an hour. When we're doing this, we're looking at not just yourself as an exclusive person there, so we have to look at it collectively, how everyone's going to react to it. I don't see how it would benefit the boulevard. I don't see how we can do this. I've talked to several people of the council. Mr. Mann, you did a survey with the chamber?
I did a survey with the chamber, and I also did with the Downtown Business Association. It was majority for it from the Downtown Business Association, and as far as the chambers goes, it was about a split even vote.
When you asked them if they were going to give up their parking spaces, what was the vote?
I spoke to, and I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot, but we have a gentleman out in the audience, but I did bring up the question about if we had to give up 3 stalls or 2 or 3 stalls in front of a business, would he be willing to do that? And I didn't get a direct response. So
I've talked to a lot of them, and I don't think any of them are willing to give up a spot. I mean, it's a cute idea, but I don't think it's a good idea for the boulevard. I think that it should be banned from the boulevard completely.
Anyone else?
You know, it's my comment that I made the last time also, is that, you know, according to the vehicle code, a carriage can go on that boulevard in our streets every single day, and it's if they are cruel to their animals, that's a crime. So we're not condoning animal cruelty and not authorizing them to be able to drive on the boulevard, which they can now. In fact, they can take money as a collection for nonprofits. What we're doing is, I feel, in my position is that we're trying to be a sort of a hands-off type of government agency, where California is not, and that's why there's a lot of jobs leaving California, even though that's not, you know, this is something that they want to do as to make a little money. And I think a 6-month plan will tell us whether or not it's going to work, whether they can change the routes, and but I think that's my position.
Anyone else?
I would just say that I think some of the issues have been blown way out of proportion, in my opinion, and I'm all for giving them a 6-month review. I really believe that you'll have to take in consideration parking and different issues that are going to come up. We've already discussed you're not going to be completely on the boulevard, and I would like to see you guys get a chance to do this, and I appreciate your being willing to go through this process when, as you mentioned, you don't need to. So I look forward to riding the boulevard in the carriage, or part of the boulevard in the carriage.
Thank you. My concern is that whether we like it or not, we're having a traffic problem. You know, we've got to do something about it. And this is going to make that traffic problem worse. It just is. The idea that that boulevard is just going to magically be successful without our continued oversight and help to the businesses that are there, I don't think is realistic. If people get frustrated because of the traffic delays, which they already are, and this compounds that, and it will compound it, and it further will take parking away. I don't know how we justify it, because we may be opposed to animal rights activists, because sometimes I think they act kind of crazy. You know, I think when they break into labs and do stuff like that, that's pretty crazy stuff. And that sometimes causes a knee-jerk reaction from us just because they're opposed to it. But if we just look at, does this benefit the businesses or is it a detriment? I'm not hearing any businesses coming forward saying they want this. What I'm hearing is the correct analysis that it's going to impede traffic, and there's no way around that. This will impede traffic. How does that benefit something that we all work so hard to create? I mean, we're so proud of this. We should protect it. We shouldn't take chances with it. And 6 months of bad receipts on that boulevard could mean the death of it. It's still very, very fragile. And for that reason, I'm voting against it, and I would like you guys to reconsider it, because there's nothing before us yet that says it benefits the boulevard. There's a vague assumption that it might. And especially at this nascent stage, I don't think we do anything that is in any way going to hinder its development. And that's what I have to say about it.
I might have missed something, but I don't remember being contacted by any of the businesses on the boulevard. Yay or nay? I haven't personally. So.
I did take a proactive approach. I did contact Mr. Mann. I asked him if he would contact some of the businesses on the boulevard. And again, the businesses on the boulevard are saying, yeah, it's cute, but I'm not giving up my parking spaces. And until we address the issue of parking on the boulevard, until we address where they're going to, you guys are thinking that this is the only carriage that can go down there. It's not. If someone else decides to do it, then that's more parking. They're going to have to arrange for parking. They're going to have to arrange for places to feed these horses, to put them places, and we do not have the room at the time. And I think it's impeding the whole boulevard. The boulevard, like Mayor Paris said, is fragile. We need to protect that. And until the idea of the parking is addressed, I think we're going to have a problem.
A question for staff, and I didn't see any place in the ordinance that says we're giving up parking spaces on the boulevard for their off-site. I thought some of the plans were that they go to American Heroes Park and some of those areas. So maybe you can elaborate. No questions from you, please.
If the ordinance was passed, then we go into the implementation of it. We don't have plans yet. We would get the ordinance, work with them on the route, where they're going to water the horses, et cetera.
Yeah, because not necessarily would they have to water the horses or feed them on the boulevard. Could that not be done on a side street or? I mean, common sense.
Again, we haven't gone into the implementation of this ordinance. It's been discussed 3 times. I can't say whether we would recommend taking parking or not recommend taking parking.
So what are we doing, seriously, what are we doing approving an ordinance where we don't know the route, we don't know if it's going to take parking, we don't know where we're going to make provisions for the horse? It's like, I hate to say it, but it's sort of like putting the cart in front of the horse, isn't it? I mean, shouldn't those issues be addressed before we approve an ordinance?
I think most of the council on a consensus here has said that they don't want parking taken away and that we want some kind of discussion before with some kind of route to go on another area. And I think that all those kind of details are not really those that are into an ordinance of this sort, on a business license ordinance.
I kind of like to know what's going to happen before we change ordinances.
Right, and I mean...
And what you're telling me is I don't know what's going to happen, right?
What I said, we have not gone into any implementation of this ordinance on the boulevard or anywhere else.
Well, shouldn't we defer this until that's done?
I'm open to that.
I would second that.
Okay, I'll make a motion to defer it until after we know the route and where all this is going to happen. Okay?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Call for the vote.
I don't think we have to vote on that, or we're just tabling it. What do you want?
What are we voting for?
Yeah,
to
what's the
table it?
motion?
To defer it to table it until we get the actual route and all of the particulars.
All the parameters worked
Okay,
out.
that's fine.
Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you.
CC4.
Okay, thank you. Adopt ordinance number 966, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, California, adding Chapter 5.52 to the Lancaster Municipal Code relating to street performers. Hallelujah. About time.
But wait a minute, we don't know what's going to happen with this. I mean, where are the street performers going to stand, and where are they going to put up their little stands and their balloons? And I mean, it's going to block the vision of the balloons that are going to block the vision of the people that are driving down the boulevard.
You voted for it.
So are you looking for the vote, Marvin?
Just saying.
I'm sorry.
We have a speaker card.
We have a speaker card. Well, do we have anybody to present this from the city?
We presented last time at the introduction and talked about the restrictions that would be on it, where they can go, what hours, things of that nature.
Oh, wait a minute. I wasn't here at the last meeting, was I? Can we withdraw my vote on the minutes?
I believe it as Dave, but I think you have to reconsider. Someone on the prevailing side has to ask for reconsideration, and then you'd re-vote.
So moved.
Second for reconsideration.
Okay, reconsider it.
Mayor, we got to vote on the reconsideration?
Do we have to vote on
the vote on the reconsideration?
I would think so.
Take an oral vote.
Take an oral vote on it. Go ahead. Vote.
Yes. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Okay.
I'll move that we adopt the city council minutes.
I'll second that.
Vote. Okay.
Just mention you abstained orally.
I'm abstaining. All right. All right, again?
Now we go to CC4.
Yeah, we could go to CC4. Jerry, you got the abstention?
Okay, we got it. Good. Let's move on.
Okay, CC4.
CC4. Isel?
Isel Grajeda?
You got to work on that C.
I'm sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. My name is Isaac Grajeda. I'm a musician and also a student. I'm majoring in music over in ABC. I also started the club in ABC that is for music, Marauder Music. Right on. Now on to Ordinance 966. I see a number of issues with this ordinance myself, and I would like to speak briefly to point out these issues and that would affect me and major musicians alike. Going to performance permit issues and issuance and denial. If a permit is revoked previously and the performer would want to play with another musician who is performing somewhere else, that ability would be denied to them, thus creating a group of people without the ability to perform and also without the ability to perform with someone else. Minors also under this ordinance would not be allowed to perform at all without a worker's permit. And going on down, you guys have your regular time restrictions, like normal ordinances might have, or noise complaint things. But there is an ultimate no-go. The ultimate power is that the city manager may designate days where no one is allowed to perform, and whatsoever. They go on and put restrictions going on, even no-brainers like littering or may not block or obstruct free, safe movement, or a performer may not block or obstruct a curb cut. I don't know anyone who does that or perform, why would anyone do that? The violation itself is a misdemeanor, a charge on your record worse than that of a marijuana possession. Is this really a problem we need to fix? How often do you see a singer walking around in residential areas with an acoustic guitar singing his little heart out, disturbing the peace, as some would call it? I would love to see that personally, but I don't see it ever happening. For one, we get criticized enough socially. But secondly, because the power of the noise complaint. The noise complaint, I've rehearsed with 3 different bands in the past 3 months, and 2 out of these 3 bands were storage facilities, the places that I rehearsed, because residential housing, because of the power of noise complaints, which affect many bands. In conclusions, I would like to say that I am a singer, and I have a condition called musical Tourette's. Whenever I get this feeling inside me that becomes bigger than I am, bigger than myself, I have a compulsion to sing. Sometimes at the top of my lungs, sometimes very softly, sometimes super jazzy, sometimes rockin', sometimes out of peace, sometimes out of anger, sometimes out of love, sometimes against the establishment, and sometimes for it.
Thank you, Isaac.
But for someone to otherwise detain me for such a joyous and timeless expression would truly break my heart.
Thank you, Isaac. Let's get him out there performing and see how it goes, okay? this is a step forward. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
Move to adopt ordinance number 966.
I second that.
Let's vote. I know this hurts.
I got to get an iguana first.
CC 5.
What's an iguana got?
You're going to have a trained iguana? I'm looking forward to that. Okay. CC item number 5. One speaker card, David Aber.
I'll waive my card.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move to authorize the retention of AECOM Technical Services.
Second.
Oh, let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay. All right, let's move on to public hearing item number 1. Economic Development Director Vern Lawson.
Mayor and Council, this is your annual consideration of the assessment for the Parking and Business Improvement District. This is an action you've been taking annually since the 1980s. This authorizes the budget for the Boulevard Association that has been a very good partner, particularly this year. They stepped up and staffed block captains for each block that were integral in the communications when we did the construction. They were also involved in many of the celebrations that we had, and as you've all indicated, we need their partnership in the future. I'd recommend approval. Merle McClernand, who is the president of that organization, is here to answer any questions, and I'd be happy to, too.
Any questions?
No question.
Thank you. Merle McClernand.
Good evening, Mayor Paris, council
Hello, how are you?
members. It's been my pleasure this year to serve as the president of the Boulevard Association. And we vote ourselves into office between all the business owners and property owners. And then we get together and we look at this association each year and see what we can do. There were a lot of years where we didn't have much to do. Now we have almost more than we can handle. So we love it. This is our way of assessing ourselves and then using our money that we collect through the business process to promote ourselves and work with the city. And it is a partnership. There's no really us and them at this point, not in Lancaster. We strongly support the acceptance of this for another year, and we look forward to working with the city. And I'll definitely answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's vote. Oh, is there a motion?
Just one quick comment is that just so the public's all clear that as Merle said, this is the business owners assessing themselves. We're the collection agency for it, and they actually control the money to improve everything that's going on in the boulevard, and it's been working out really well. So I'll move that we adopt resolution number 1136.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay, moving on to public hearing item number 2. Brian Ludicky. Do we have any speaker cards on that?
We have a whole bunch.
Oh, okay. Oh. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're going to take a break.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter to me. Should I announce it now? Captain, did Mr. Manning ever show up? Well, I think what we'll do is go ahead and announce the award and just have you guys deliver it to him, okay? Okay, we do have a new neighborhood Courage Award, and the first person to get it happens to be a resident of Palmdale. While Mr. Manning was inside his residence, his home was forcibly entered by 3 individuals. Mr. Manning was approached by one of the suspects. In an effort to protect himself, Mr. Manning shot 1 round from his handgun, striking one of the suspects in the arm. Although the suspects fled, they left behind evidence that ultimately led to their capture and arrest. Mr. Manning's quick thinking under threatening conditions not only saved his life, but ultimately led to the apprehension of 3 dangerous residential burglars operating in the Antelope Valley. The reason for this award is a recognition that it is going to take all of us to make this the safest city in America, or the safest valley in America. And Mr. Manning had the courage to protect himself, his home, and his neighborhood. And so we're going to present him with this award. And Captain, if you could get that to him, I would appreciate it. Okay? We'll get it to you later. Okay. We're going to move things around a little bit. All right, let's just go with it. PH2.
Mayor Paris and members of the City Council, the item before you tonight is an appeal of 2 actions from the city. The first, the revocation of conditional use permit number 08-08 by the Planning Commission, and secondly, the revocation of a business license for the same location done by the city manager in February. The site of this particular issue, which is on Avenue I in the shopping center that's at the northwest corner of I and 10th Street West, was approved for a restaurant in 2008 by the City Planning Commission. This approval through conditional use permit 08-08 allowed for the on-site sale of beer and wine in conjunction with the operation of that restaurant. The applicant signed affidavits indicating that they agreed with the conditions of approval and that they intended to operate a restaurant at this location. As contained in the attached Planning Commission staff report, which details a number of incidents, investigations, and things that have occurred on the site since that time, staff has been led to believe and has substantial evidence that the use has not been operated as a restaurant. Instead, it is being operated as a nightclub. This particular use, as I indicated, was not approved on that site. There is a difference in the city's alcohol ordinance between a restaurant, which allows incidental sale of beer and wine or spirits if they're approved, and a nightclub, which has as its primary function entertainment uses in conjunction with the sale of alcohol. As a result of that, staff has been investigating and reviewing what has occurred at the site for quite a bit of time. The documents that we've provided to you as a part of the Planning Commission staff report, we feel, demonstrate that the site and the business have been operated in a way that justifies the revocation of the conditional use permit that allows alcohol sales there. The city's zoning code allows the Planning Commission to consider revocation of a conditional use permit if one of 3 conditions are found to exist: that the activities that occur on the premises or in close proximity constitute a nuisance under any section of the city's municipal code, that the operation of the premises is in violation of any city ordinance or state or federal regulation, or that the applicant is failing to comply with any condition imposed by the appropriate conditional use permit. There are 3 main things that, from a staff perspective, we feel justify the revocation of this conditional use permit. First, as already mentioned, the applicant was well aware that they were approved for the operation of a restaurant. By the admission of their own representative at the May 16th Planning Commission meeting, they indicated that that was their intention, but things changed. And in order to operate, they had to go away from the restaurant use and operate in the nightclub manner. The second thing is that they, through investigation of the state ABC, have been found to be in violation of the state alcoholic beverage control license that they have been issued. I'm not here to defend necessarily what state ABC does. I've had my own issues with them at times. However, we have literally hundreds of applicants that are approved for alcohol licenses within the city of Lancaster, and the vast majority of them are complying with the conditions that ABC has set forth. From staff's perspective, the failure to act in a situation where an applicant is knowingly violating those conditions does not set a good precedent for the operation of alcohol sales uses within our city. The third, and is documented in one of the attachments, is the amount of sheriff's activity that has been generated as a result of things occurring at this site. I will allow Deputy Cooper to go into this in a little more detail, but suffice it to say that this particular location has taken far more than the average number of sheriff's resources that is normally taking place in our city for any other restaurant use. So I would like Deputy Cooper to be able to expand on that just a little bit.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the council. I've been designated as the person with the that knows the history probably the best of this location. First of all, I want to say that we, the Sheriff's Department, specifically Lancaster Station, we support all of the findings in the staff report, some of which we were a contributor to. We concur with the findings of the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control in their investigations, as you know, they are the the experts in this area. We agree that they are operating currently more as a nightclub than a restaurant. We agree with the Planning Commission decision, and we support the staff's recommendation at this time. And I'm available for any questions.
Are they still doing cafe incident cards?
Yes, sir.
And what's the policy on when those are filled out?
Well, when I can get the deputies to fill them out and turn them in, I keep the master copy. And now the thing, I used to mail a copy to ABC, but now I can scan and email. Copies of cafe incident cards are forwarded to Alcoholic Beverage Control, and we keep a copy at the station.
Is there a disproportionate number?
I don't have the exact number of cafe incident cards per se, only because the deputies don't always fill them out. But there is a significant amount from this location.
Has there been a suspension?
Excuse me?
Has there been a suspension?
No, sir.
Has there? I mean, were we going right to revocation?
Yeah, there hasn't been anything in the interim. There's been no suspension.
What about ABC? What has ABC done?
ABC, they just concluded with their investigation, and as far as I know, they're filing an accusation, which is, in our terms, filing a case. I'm actually unaware if ABC has actually. I don't believe their license has been suspended.
Is there a move?
From ABC either.
Is there a move to suspend it?
From the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control? Not that I'm aware
of. Mr. McEwen, do we have the ability to do an interim suspension rather than revoke their CUP?
Yeah, I think our choices are to revoke the CUP or find other conditions that they could comply with. We can impose additional conditions, I guess, under the CUP. That hasn't been considered by the Planning Commission, and their recommendation is to revoke. based in part upon the ABC investigations that have occurred to date, which demonstrate that they have not complied with the conditions of the CUP, let alone the conditions of the ABC license. So they're two separate things. They run together, but the violation of the conditions of the CUP is based on other evidence that is part of the record that you have before you.
Well, couldn't we just make it a condition that they not sell alcoholic beverages for a period of time?
We could do that.
I mean, if we withdrew their ability to sell alcohol for 90 days, we could do that, couldn't we?
I think under the term, one, we don't have the ability to regulate alcohol sales necessarily, but in this case what we're talking about is the conditions of approval for the restaurant use or the sale of alcohol in conjunction with the restaurant use. And if we limit it to just a restaurant use, I think we could do that. I'd want to spend a little time taking a look at that, making sure that we're not walking into a preemption case.
If we took away their ability to sell alcohol, would that resolve the problem?
Well, the revocation of the conditional use permit only applies to alcohol. They will still be able to operate a restaurant if they so desire.
I'm just troubled by, when you put a business out of business, you've essentially executed the business, And it just seems to me we ought to have some interim steps. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, we're not putting them out of business as per se. Their license is a restaurant. Their primary function was to serve food. Mm-hmm. Alcohol, the Type 41 license, which they have, alcohol is only supposed to be incidental to food sales. I have, lists of other establishments that have similar licenses, and none of them have nightclub activity, security guards, calls for service, like we've had.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
So explain that again so everybody understands. The type of the type of alcohol license that they have is the alcohol that's served subsequent to somebody sitting down at a restaurant. It doesn't entail them turning it into a nightclub and having basically the major income of the sale of alcohol for a nightclub situation. Is that correct?
Yes. Specifically, 51% of their gross sales is supposed to be food service.
Right.
The idea of what they're licensed for is that alcohol sales are incidental to food sales. The primary function is they're a restaurant. People go there to dine, not to specifically go there to consume alcohol.
So in other words, it would be like if all of a sudden we saw Marie Callender's has been having a problem here and wanting to file bankruptcy, and all of a sudden every Friday and Saturday night, now they've opened up a dance floor and having a bunch of parties and alcohol being served there. That's basically what's happening.
Pretty much right on the head.
Well, what is the distribution between the food and the alcohol?
Let me just interrupt real quick. The CUP authorizes them to have alcohol sales in conjunction with the restaurant use. There are two things before you tonight. One is revocation of the CUP. The other is revocation of their business license. And the business license covers the operation in its entirety. The CUP just covers the ability to sell the alcohol. So if you revoke the CUP, and you could revoke it on a temporary basis if you so chose, that would prevent them from selling alcohol for that whatever period that you revoke the CUP. But in order to do that, you would have to reinstate the business license to allow them to continue as a restaurant use, which they have under the zoning codes.
Well, do you see a problem with them operating as a restaurant?
Well, currently, we don't feel that they are operating as a restaurant
I understand
at this time.
that, but if we take away their ability to sell alcohol,
if they so desired to operate a restaurant there, obviously we would have no one would have a problem with that.
so what we're really talking about is the problems arising from alcohol.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the imbalance of the food, the amount of percentage of food service versus the percentage of alcohol.
Do we have those numbers?
Yeah, they're in there.
What are they?
Yes, I think they're in a,
It's got a considerable disproportionate share of alcohol.
Okay.
Was there a murder at this location?
yes,
Has it been a drain on city assets?
it has,
Thank you.
as compared to any other locations.
And if we could, does Mr. Ludicky or Mr. McEwen have any other, did we send any warning letters? Did we consult with them? Maybe you could expound on that too.
Vice Mayor Smith, they have had numerous conversations with both law enforcement and city staff regarding the operation of the site. They are aware, I don't think it's any secret, that they know they're not operating within the confines of the approved conditional use permit. They had at least one conversation at our counter, at the counter for the planning department, with one of my staff asking what they would need to do in order to bring themselves into legal compliance. And they were told they would have to file a conditional use permit to essentially allow a nightclub use on the site rather than the one that they currently have. So they are aware of these violations and in fact admitted to that as part of the Planning Commission meeting.
And what's the name of the company that they're currently, I mean, the name on the door, the shingle, right now as we...
It's the Bamboo Club, I believe. Restaurant.
Club Bamboo Restaurant? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Let's go to the speaker. You guys, any other questions?
No other questions for staff at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to the speaker cards. Brian Dykstra.
Yes, I'd just like to say first that when I go into there, I'm a customer of theirs. When I go in there, I mainly purchase food. Seafood, steaks, they always have specials. Most of my money is not spent on alcohol there. As far as the nuisance, I've never seen any problems in there. If anything does happen, their security team's always quick, but I've rarely seen it happen over there. I've seen things happen at many other locations throughout this valley that is more severe than I've ever seen there at the Bamboo Restaurant. So that's all I really wanted to say was that statement right there. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanya Fonseca.
I just wanted to say I've actually had family members come there for birthday parties. We have tons of children, and we've always had no problems whatsoever over there. We go in there and we eat there. I'm actually, I don't really drink there, and neither does my husband or any of my other family members. And we do go there on a constant basis. We basically buy food, and we listen to music, and we communicate with, the people who work there. As far as the shooting goes, I've been to other places where there have actually been fights, where people actually pulled guns out, and it frightened me. So the only place that I've actually really felt comfortable with was being at the Bamboo Restaurant. And that's basically all I have to say. Thank you.
Jeremy Bracewell.
Good evening. I as well am a customer at the Bamboo, and many times I've been there in the afternoons. We're not talking about the nighttime. We're talking 2 in the afternoon for birthday parties, baby showers, bridal receptions. They've also provided an outlet for local artists to be able to come out, even at a loss of profit to them, because they want to provide a venue where people can sit there and talk about their art and meet their fans and everything. So as far as it just being a nightclub, no, not at all. It is a restaurant that it does have music, and they do serve some drinks, but that's not what everyone's going there for. Thank you.
Thank you. Johnny Bradford. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening then for me. I've visited this place for practically the time they've been open. I've been a resident in the Allen Valley 25 years. I've gotten to know quite a few deputies and other people here who have worked at Clubhouse 41, Spanky's, you name it. Quite a lot of clubs in this valley I've participated in growing up here, and we've had problems at a lot of clubs. It's not just there. I lost a friend at Schooners. He was a bouncer there. He was killed at Schooners. I mean, I've been around, and Bamboo has became a place where I have older kids now, 20, 19, 18. I take out with me, show them a good time, and they don't drink. They just go to enjoy themselves. And me and my fiance, we also eat, participate in a lot of the venues they hold there, birthday parties and other things. It's always been a family-oriented place. We don't have a lot of people that actually go there. Majority of the people that go there know each other some way, shape, or form from the valley. And we've all been together. And yeah, there are problems, with every place, with every establishment. A few weeks back, Beck's had a problem, which involved the sheriff's department, And, it happens. We had shootings at Lace, which, has occurred over time span quite often. This is not an ongoing situation where they have issues all the time with the sheriff's department. I'm there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday during karaoke nights and stuff like that. And it's a cool place. It's something that maybe you guys should come see before just kind of casting judgment upon them, saying it's bad. Give them the opportunity to, make adjustments. I've owned businesses here. I've participated in other businesses. I've been a part of the Allen Valley Sheriff's Department Gang Prevention Task Force for Teens. We have a problem out here, and it's not just the clubs. We have a big problem in this valley with gangs and other issues. And some of the things that pertains to the club might just be from other club venues, that they're sticking and labeling just to the restaurant itself, For us spending time in the evenings, when I get off work, I work out in the fields, 150th Street East. I'm in the heat all day. Weekends is my time off from being father all week, And so when we decide we want to go somewhere nice and be around people that we actually can trust and have a good time without me going home having a problem, that's where I choose to go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Chris Walsh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To the murder, there wasn't a murder at the Bamboo. I want to say that you can't pin that on them because someone gets shot in the parking lot. There's been shootings in the parks here in Lancaster, and you can't shut down the park over that. I go to Bamboo all the time. I've been a patron there since they opened. I eat there every time. I've never been charged. I don't consider it a club. It's not a club to me. It's a place where I sit down and eat, and I feel comfortable and safe. That's where I go, and I don't think there's no reason you guys should close this place at all, or even consider pulling license or anything. It's just, for me, the safest place to be in Lancaster. I've been to Beck's twice, and the 2 times I've been there, there's been fights. I don't want to go to Beck's myself just because I don't feel safe there. It's the only place I feel is a good place to be. Thank you.
Thank you. David Aber.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, and citizens. I've never been to the Bamboo restaurant, so I can't comment on that, but from what I'm hearing in here this evening, I think if there isn't an ordinance in the city that we need to move in the direction to hold all the businesses accountable, maybe motivate them to police their situation, make sure their surrounding areas and parking lot and so forth and so on are monitored to where I lost that same good friend at Schooners, which was unnecessary. And, the resources of the sheriff department needs to be directed to areas where we're not wasting their time and efforts.
Mr. Mayor, the speaker is off point.
How would I be off point? We're talking about what's happening with respect to the safety and the administration.
Mayor, we're talking about the revocation of the CUP on one specific business, not in general policies of the city.
And so where do we go? We limiting speech and possible suggestions on how to address the situation. I've never been to the club, so I can't speak to the restaurant, so I can't speak to it. But from what I'm hearing in here and the last speaker, it appears we have a situation where it calls for an ordinance or some brainstorming in order to hold all the businesses, every business, accountable for the safety of the citizens. And that's, I think, goes right to what we're talking about here. I can't speak to their ABC license. I can't speak to anything about that particular restaurant because I haven't been there. Okay, but what I do speak to is the fact that we have a situation where we need to fashion an ordinance which does address holding everybody accountable for burdening the sheriff's department with too many calls with respect to fights and trouble. I'm hearing other people talk about the place on the boulevard that's having fights. They don't want to go there. So if we're going to hold one group's hand to the fire, then I believe we need to administer this across the board fairly so that all the businesses are made aware that there's policy in Lancaster to govern the behavior of their patrons. Thank you for your time. Sorry I was off point if I was.
John Hanson.
Good evening. Let me go back in the old days. That used to be Tipsy Bowl. I bounced there for years. We've had problems there. We've had stabbing there. Everybody's well aware of that. It happens. As far as calls against the sheriff's department, we have people call all the time with their cell phones. They do it, and there's nothing that I could do when I worked at Tipsy. Nothing I could do to stop that. We didn't call. The business didn't call. I know that the business here doesn't call. It's other people that call the sheriff's department out. As far as eating, every time I've been in there, I've had something to eat, tacos, hamburger, and I stay and listen to music and watch people dance. It's a good place to go. It's by far, it's a lot safer than Tipsy was, and that's, I kind of prided myself on keeping Tipsy safe. But the way they handle things, it's handled very discreetly, and it's taken outside, and that's it. People feel safe in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher Jen.
Good evening. I am the bartender from Bamboo. When it comes to having incidents, it's like John said, we take care of it instantly. And unlike Lace, they just kick everybody out of the parking lot and just let them have at it and lock their doors. At least we have security outside to at least get them to their cars and get them home. Other than that, food, I'm taking food orders all the time. I mean, not only that, we've got people coming there saying that they love the place, that they don't want us to close. Because, they have their kids come. And it's just, as far as I'm concerned, the way that place is run, granted, yeah, we have our mishaps, but if we were to open up during the day, like earlier than what we open up, I think we'd be able to solve the problems that you guys are talking about. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Sandra Zerdia, did I get that right? And after Sandra, it'll be Joshua Hopper, then Efren Salcido.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Surdia, and I just have to say that I've been there several times, and none of those times I felt that I was at risk or I'd never seen a fight there. And it's a safe place. I'm a mother. I wouldn't be going to a place that's going to put me at risk and leave my kids without a mother. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Joshua Hopper.
Good evening, council. Basically all I got to say is I've been there 2.5 years. I've been in this valley going on about 20 years. I've worked at numerous clubs in this valley. I mean, not granted that they're a club. I mean, yeah, I'll give you that much. I mean, yeah, if that's what you guys are trying to say, I guess you have to say that. But it's a means of survival. I've been in this valley, like I said, I've been in this valley 25 years, about 20 years. There's, as you guys know, it's hard for us to find jobs in this valley. Yes, I do work there. I'm an employee. I mean, yes, I have called the sheriff department for once. It was just for my personal vehicle getting broke into. That wasn't on fact of the business, on the business side of it. It was, what am I supposed to do when my vehicle gets broken into? And that's the question I'm asking. I mean, I don't want that to fall on the business as far as that goes, but as far as in my case, what am I supposed to do? One issue I have is, I'm asking that you guys reconsider the revocation of the conditional use permit and the business license on the grounds. I mean, I've been there 2.5 years, and in the 2.5 years I've been there, we've cleaned the place up. I mean, before I started there, that place used to be a real nasty place to hang out. I mean, I went to a Tipsy Bowl once. I didn't feel safe there. This place, I mean, I feel like we're more like a family there. I mean, we all get along. I've never had no major incidents. I mean, I really don't know what else to say. I mean, but that's just basically what I'm asking you guys is basically just please reconsider the revocation of the business license and the conditional use permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Efren Salcido.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to say that every time I go there, I go to eat, and I don't really drink. I drink sometimes. But to have fun, I don't think you have to drink. Not everybody in the boulevard is drunk, right? I mean, they go there to have fun. So I go there to listen to some music, to dance, to eat, and have fun. And I think you guys should think about closing it down. Don't close it down because we need jobs in Lancaster. The economy is rough, and if you close it down, you cannot take food from tables. So please think it twice. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the speaker cards. Let's close the public hearing. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. On firsthand, what you had brought up, I feel like, we don't want to put people out of business, and that has there been any interim type of, either suspension or something that we could have done. And it's obvious that the Sheriff's Department has had continual contact with them. Our staff has had continual contact with them. And a CUP has to be followed. We could have every place in the valley start not following their CUP. And we do put a CUP on every business like this. It's obvious that they converted this from a restaurant to a bar nightclub to make money, which I don't fault them for wanting to make money, but they've had numerous problems. And even though I feel like, yes, okay, well, let's say you can only be a restaurant. You have to be closed by 9 o'clock. There can't be any dancing. There can't be any of that type of business. They have already proven and had a track record that they can't follow the rules, and that when they've been counseled by staff or by the Sheriff's Department, they still continually not follow the rules. So why I don't necessarily trust them following the rules if we make a more stringent CUP. I mean, people could bring alcohol in, people could still be partying, they could still be dancing at night, and we'd have to be checking on them all the time. And so I just, those are my, I think I'm sort of frustrated that we've had staff and had to spend a lot of resources to try to control this one business.
I watched the Planning Commission, and Mr. Volsky did a great job on that. There was a lot of questions asked, and part of that, Brian, was it got so bad there that they had to have their security go to Denny's because when the lounge closed, they had to go to Denny's and provide security there. Is that true?
Well, that was raised as testimony. I don't have independent verification that that's true.
Did they have menus?
They provided a menu to us as part of the initial CUP application. However, and it's shown in one of the ABC investigative reports, the menu that they had at the time the ABC went in and looked was written on an erasable board. It was not, and it had about 4 or 5 items on it. I'm not disputing that food is available, but it is not the type of menu that they put forth as part of the CUP application.
And have you seen all the advertisement that they do as the Bamboo Lounge?
Yes, I've been made aware of that, and certain city staff have, been thoughtful in.
So they're not advertising it as a restaurant?
I don't believe that they are advertising it as a restaurant. And one other item, one speaker mentioned that at times when staff, and I know law enforcement has gone over, the place is not open during many hours. It opens generally at about 9 o'clock in the evening on certain days of the week.
Thank you.
As I'm going through the information here, most of the advertisements from Elevate, I think it is, which I would assume that the Bamboo restaurant is paying for, it describes it as the Bamboo Lounge. Some of the people that have come up here have mentioned that it's family-oriented, their kids go there with them, whatever. These advertisements are absolutely not family-oriented.
Additional comment that some of the people from their own testimony was that they gave is that, there's no problems inside the club. And it's funny that every one of them has called it a club. Not one person has said, I like this restaurant. The other thing they said is, we have no problems inside the club because we just take it outside. And so what does that do to the other businesses? Because that's exactly, where did the shooting or the murder happen, Mr. Cooper? Where?
The parking lot?
Outside?
Yeah.
So, we have other citizens. We're not taking questions or answers from the audience. Thank you, though.
I have some experience. I have a Type 41 alcohol license, and it would have been of value, I think, for the city council if we'd had somebody from the alcohol board here to be able to explain the different levels of license. But clearly, whether they're the intent in the beginning to open this business up as a nightclub or a restaurant, obviously the shortest path is to apply for a CUP to serve alcohol as a restaurant because of the scrutiny, and I think that also applies with the alcohol board. And the question is if they're operating it like a nightclub, which it's pretty evident that they are, why wouldn't they have come back in and asked for a modification to their CUP? And that would have opened up probably a whole can of worms, because we would have taken a look at the number of calls, given my experience as a planning commissioner, and the alcohol board would have probably been involved, and we would have probably, they would have had to canvass the neighborhood, because there's a particular process that you had to follow, and more than likely they would have gotten turned down based on my experience. If somebody feels tonight on the city council that they don't have enough information, I would think that maybe we just ought to go down the road of bringing somebody from the alcohol board. But it's evident to me, based on the information that we've been supplied, that they're clearly in violation of their CUP. Historically, as a city, I don't think we've ever tolerated anyone of this level to operate it, based on our knowledge.
Well, let's not go too far.
Okay. Based on our knowledge?
Well, based on what's brought to our attention.
Okay. And that's what I'm referring to.
Okay. My thinking is clearly it's a nightclub. I don't think anybody seriously is disputing that by how a nightclub is defined. I just think that we should give them the opportunity to operate as a restaurant. And if the market will allow for it, this problem is solved. and we keep people employed. And if the market doesn't allow for it, then it will fall on its own. But I don't think we should use all of the power available to us if it's not essential to do it. I think that alcohol, I mean, I don't know how anybody has the courage to run a nightclub in today's environment. I just think they're incredibly dangerous. And I used to own nightclubs, so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. It's an incredibly difficult job to keep a nightclub safe. And if they don't have a CUP for a nightclub, then obviously they shouldn't be allowed to do that. And so I would suggest that we revoke the CUP to serve alcohol, but leave them open as a restaurant. If they continue to sell alcohol or allow alcohol on the premises, the Sheriff's Department will arrest them. That's an arrestable offense. Isn't that correct, Captain? And I just think I don't think we should be closing businesses if we can find an alternate way to make it safe, for what it's worth.
Mr. Ludicky, I just had one question. The original intent of the business was for a restaurant, correct?
That was the initial application, yes.
Thank you.
I would agree with you, Mr. Mayor, to one point, except that to put them under an onus to come back to be a restaurant, I would not want them to open up business tomorrow. I would want that delayed. I would want their CUP to be revoked, and I would want them to come back, provide proof that they have a menu, that they've redesigned it, there's no dance floor, that they have different operation hours, that the CUP is all changed, and after 90 days, they're probably not going to be in business anyway. But like I said before, they haven't been able to follow the rules, and I just don't. I don't think I'd like to take a chance. I think the only thing that we can do. It's gone to the Planning Commission before. They've been notified lots of times, so we haven't just first incident that we've decided, okay, let's just pull their CUP. No, they've had lots of counseling, and I'm leaning towards sustaining and upholding what the Planning Commission has done.
I believe in redemption. Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
But I want to do it individually.
What do you mean individual?
Well, it's compound right now. You're doing the UCP, the PUC, and the CUP and the business license.
That's fine. Do we need a motion to separate?
Yeah, the resolution you have before you is a joint resolution revoking both the CUP and the business license.
That's fine.
So we need to separate those actions out.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to separate.
I'll second that.
It's unanimous.
That being unanimous, I'll move that we adopt resolution number 1137 only to the extent of revoking the conditional use permit.
I'll second that.
Let's vote.
Just to add, conditional use permit number 0808.
It's unanimous.
And that being done, then I will then make the last motion of revoking the business license for the Bamboo Restaurant.
I'll second.
And that's based on the findings set forth in the resolution.
Based on the findings consent on the resolution, correct.
It's 3-2. It carries. Okay, we'll now hear a staff report on joint continued business item 1 from Mark Lazigian.
And there are no speakers cards in that.
Then let's waive the staff report. And is there a motion?
Before we do the motion, could we pull out, I don't know which resolution it comes out of, Mr. Bozigian, but can we pull the traffic circle out?
It's not in the resolution. It would be one of the projects in the budget. You could pull that specific project, which is the traffic circle, and it's I don't have the CIP number, but it's the traffic circle. You're talking about 10th Street West and Lancaster Boulevard?
That's correct.
You could discuss that, and you could adopt the budget with or without that, if you want.
Why doesn't somebody make the motion to adopt the budget without the traffic circle, and then we'll deal with the traffic circle as a separate item? Okay.
Well, why don't we just decide whether or not there's a vote? We can have a discussion on that particular CIP item. If there's enough votes that nobody wants to adopt it, then we just go ahead and we pull it. But if there's not enough votes to pull it,
But how do we do that without voting on the budget?
we can.
Make a motion to amend the budget to delete the traffic circle project.
If we get done with the discussion, we actually get to that point to amend it. Correct? I mean, that would be my understanding.
And then that would be the first motion. If you've amended the budget by deleting that, then you can vote to adopt.
All right, well, let's have the discussion on the traffic circle, and then we'll figure out how to do it.
Because we might not have enough votes to amend, so.
I think it's about priorities. I don't think the traffic circle is a priority for Lancaster Boulevard. I think we have other priorities that we can do. What I would like to use the money for is to have the city staff look at some location for a parking structure. So we could have a parking structure in the boulevard, the downtown boulevard area. So I just think it's a matter of priority. And I think we should have a parking structure prior to us having any type of roundabout. So it's relatively simple. It's about priorities, and I would much rather spend the money, the city's money, to develop a parking structure than to develop a roundabout.
Just a question, Mr. Neal, if that's okay, or to you, Mr. Zeman, sorry. I know that we have a grant for the traffic circle, but what is in the CIP budget our price tag?
The traffic circle, the downtown roundabout, as it's called, is budgeted for $2,605,895,300 of that is a grant.
So about 1.83.
The remaining 1.7 and change is local funds that are our funds.
Oh, what funds?
That are local funds controlled by the city of Lancaster, local transportation funds.
Are they in their
Prop C and Measure R.
Prop C and Measure R. Can Prop C and Measure R be used for, as Mr. Chris said, for parking?
With the MTA's approval, yes, and the approval, there's a long process. There's a long list of requirements, but essentially, if it supports transit and it's located, I think it's still a quarter mile within a transit route.
Right. And then, in my understanding, what was the price tag that we were talking about? If you're talking about a 4 or 5 level parking structure, we were talking about that before. It's not going to be 1.6 million. I think it's more like.
If the city built it, that's not enough to build a 4 or 5. You would try to partner with other folks or get grants or however you wanted to do it.
Right,
there's different ways to do a parking structure.
But I mean, we're talking about a large amount there.
Yeah, there's different ways to do a parking structure.
I know it's a matter of priorities, and we have a very extensive, every year we have a very extensive CIP budget. And I think, as the mayor has said before, that he has said before, we're on this role of being creative and innovative. And I said it in the newspaper, but this is officially that. We've been talking about this, Mr. Mann and myself, for 8 years, and we've had lots of public input. There's been lots of public charrettes on having a traffic circle there also. It's been part of the downtown specific plan moving forward, and I think it really creates that energy that when you come to Lancaster, through the Visitors Bureau, through the soccer, whatever you're coming from, that when you're driving up 10th Street or you're driving down Lancaster Boulevard, you've arrived to that destination that we're trying to bring people towards. And I think if we go back 8 years, when we were talking about creating the boulevard as we have now with the diagonal parking and the landscaping and everything that it's created, and said we're going to spend $11 million and change the boulevard, we would have had a lot of people say no. And there's a matter of priorities. But it's just one of those things. I think that this is the right thing to do at this time. I don't agree with traffic circles maybe in every location, but here I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So if I would like to make a motion to remove the traffic circle, what would it be?
It would be to amend the budget to delete the traffic circle.
I would like to amend the budget, make a motion to amend the budget to delete the traffic circle.
And I assume you want to add to build a parking structure.
That's correct.
What we'd like to do is come back to you with plans on that because we don't have the full plans. But the intent would be for that purpose, is how we would do it.
Correct.
Anyone else have anything to say about it?
I would. Councilmember Christ and I had a lively discussion about this because I was not opposed to the traffic circle at all. After talking to him about it, what I understood was that we were talking about possibly postponing the traffic circle and going ahead with a parking structure. But that did not mean that we were going to eliminate the circle completely.
So how would you amend that motion? Mr. McEwen, maybe you could help.
Well, I think if you want to just add that we continue the study of the traffic circle based on what Councilmember Marcus said. Just add that to the motion if you want.
Also a question, because we're getting...
Wait a minute.
I mean, we're getting...
Sorry.
I would take it as you like both projects, is what I would take it. You just don't want this project now in the budget, but you're not killing the traffic circle is what I'm taking it. It's a project that just doesn't reach the priority, because we believe you could get both at some point.
It's a matter of priorities.
Do we lose the grant money?
That's my question.
Likely, yes. We would
Is there a
try to
time
work
frame?
it, but likely, yes.
And I agree with priorities, but I'm not going to take one particular item and trade and say we're going to get rid of a traffic circle and work on a parking structure that's going to take years to get approval to use Prop C. This is actual. It's not money that we use for cops. It's not money that we use for other things in parks. It is money that we use for transportation dollars. So there's actually a lot of hoops that we have to jump through. If we're going to look at that, then that needs to be done on a broader scale rather than done with a microscope. We have to look at the whole CIP, because maybe there's another project that, hey, we don't want to do this, but we want to do the traffic circle. Maybe we don't want to do this, but we want to do the parking structure. And that has to be done on a larger scale. And I think we've had lots of time to get our budget to this point. The CIP schedule has been out for quite a while, and I think that's the larger discussion. And I'm still in agreement that it's not delaying it. If we want to look at the CIP budget and amend the CIP budget to find that the parking structure has more priorities than 20 other projects on the CIP. How many, Mr. Neal, how many projects are on the CIP? I don't have the number, but I know it's usually numerous pages.
Please direct your questions to the city manager. And
It's about 30 to 40, and some are carryover, some are new.
Right. Okay.
You done?
No, yeah, thank you.
You know, the complaint we have with the boulevard is it needs parking. It does need parking. You know, I think it needs parking. Sometimes I park in the mayor's slot over here and walk up because there's no parking. I like a traffic circle. I really do. I mean, I see them in Europe, and I just think they're the greatest things. They make sense, you know, make a lot of sense, especially in what traffic control devices cost. But we need parking now. It's really that simple. What is going to further the success of the boulevard, and parking is going to do that. Is a traffic circle going to further it? Yes, but not as much. I mean, right now, if there's a design flaw, the design flaw is we didn't provide for enough parking. And I'm for fixing it. I'm for fixing it now. I think that is going to bring more business to the businesses there than a traffic circle is. And for that reason, I would vote to delay the traffic circle to sometime in the future and put up the parking structure as soon as possible before it's too late.
You know, I'm not confused, but I want to jump in here. I did not take account historically how many parking stalls that we had on Lancaster Boulevard prior to doing the revitalization project. But
we added about 230.
Yeah, I was going to say we had to have a net outcome of of a gain significantly. And, and I don't know, maybe there was a misunderstanding when we were doing the charrettes. Maybe that's where the confusion came in, because I never envisioned, at least when we were in discussion purposes, for all the parking to end up on Lancaster Boulevard. And now I would question whether or not, if we went down on a Friday night, and I'm not talking about an event, because I think an event just changes the whole dynamics, and there'll be times maybe we'll never have enough parking, because I've been to several events that are like what we've held today, because I've gone, historically we went to San Jose and we took a look at some of the events that they do similar to what we've modeled some of our things after. But I'm clear that if we walk the back streets, and I know that, and I'm talking about the back streets, the first block off, and walk down the back side of the boulevard on a typical Friday night or Saturday night, I don't know if all those parking stalls are maxed out. And maybe we're thinking with a paradigm here that we were making the assumption that we were supposed to have all that contained parking on the boulevard. And I'm clear in the beginning that was never in the vision that I ever saw. Because I know that we distinctly made several trips to other cities where, and I thought we came out with a real workable deal with the amount of parking that we have now. I'm not going to disagree that when you drive down Lancaster Boulevard now, which I'm kind of elated, I was there last Saturday morning and we had the stalls full. And I'm thinking, that's great, because I can remember 2 years ago that wasn't the case. So I'm a little bit disappointed now that we're moving away from the original plan. And I just can't see where we fouled so far up to this point. I think we're right on task and right on target. And I think for us at this stage in the game, I surely wouldn't want us to lose $900,000 or $865. I'm not in a disagreement with what the mayor has said, and I'm not in disagreement with what Mr. Christus said. I think at some point in time, knock on wood, I hope we have to have parking structures like State Street and Santa Barbara's got to have to support all that activity that's on the boulevard. I don't think we're there yet.
Okay, but let's look at it like this. Would you agree the boulevard needs an anchor?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what that anchor looks like, I don't know.
We're not going to get an anchor without any more parking. We need parking to develop the boulevard further. We need parking for our events that we have there. We need parking far more than we need a traffic circle.
You know what I'm having a problem with is none of us really know what we're talking about. Meaning there's a science to no, I'm serious. There's a science to this, and where's the science? Where's the expertise? I mean that's what staff is there to provide us. I would like some type of analysis of this. I would like a discussion with the major developers on the boulevard, and I would like staff to give us a report as to whether or not there's a pressing need now for the parking structure, or whether or not we're better off going with the $900,000 grant and doing the roundabout. But we really are, talking through something other than our head without that analysis.
Is that, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, is that an analysis on the traffic flow of a traffic circle?
What I want to know, I want an analysis done as to, is there a need now for a parking structure, and will a parking structure improve the business outlook for those businesses on the boulevard compared to a traffic circle? And the $900,000 grant, I would like a rational, intelligent, scientific analysis of those two options, and I would like to table this part of the budget until after we get that.
And then it's whatever the facts are. It's whatever we should do as intelligent people.
So what you're asking is we just pull the traffic circle from the budget at this time, we get the analysis, and then we'll take a look at it?
And I'd like to know from staff how long you're going to need.
Yeah, because I don't want to lose that $895.
Well, what we would do, I'd say 60 to 90 days, because we already have a lot of the information. The specific plan had a parking analysis, and the traffic circle obviously is a lot of it's designed.
Could we do it in 60 days?
Yes.
Let's get it in 60 days. I understand the Vice Mayor's frustration, and I understand your frustration. I mean, this is a plan, and whenever you start deviating from plans, people get frustrated. But at the same time, I want to know.
The options you would have on the budget is you could approve the budget with the traffic circle in it, saying don't work on it, or you could take it out and just say it's not included in the budget, it's approved, amended without that.
Well, couldn't we take it out with a direction to put it back on in 60 days?
Yes.
Or couldn't we leave it in and then tell them to take it out?
I would like to take it out and...
Yeah, you could leave it in and tell them to take it out in 60 days, too.
You can always amend the CIP, correct?
You could do it any way you want. We're clearly taking from this discussion, we're not going to put any more effort into doing anything with the traffic circle other than the analysis.
Okay. I actually think that is the correct way to do it, because that is the plan. And if we're going to deviate from the plan, let's deviate in 60 days after we have the report. Does that make sense to you?
I could support that.
Mr. Christ?
No, it doesn't, but I'm okay with it.
I'm just trying to figure out a way to do it. So
no,
it's fair.
I'm okay with it. I'm just
Wouldn't we find supportive information to either support where you're going, Marvin, with it, or the original plan?
Right, and in all reality, I know reports have come through my desk that we've had reports on parking, and through the specific plan, we've had discussions of the paradigm shift and how much parking we have, whether we have a parking structure, whether we have around, and all the safety factors of the road. So there has been a lot of reports. We just need to maybe just go over them again. But I think we do pass the budget.
But wait a minute, one second. My lawyer bell just rang. If we pass this, are we going to need 4 votes to take it out?
It's not a super.
Wait a minute. I'm asking the city attorney.
No, you can amend the budget with a majority vote.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. I'm good with that.
Okay.
Will you amend your motion? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I wanted to put in there was that when we had our discussion with Mr. Bozikin, is the problem with losing the money never came up. So it's a specific grant that we probably would lose if we don't go with the traffic circle.
Yeah, and I apologize if I wasn't clear on that. Yes, it's likely we would. We would argue to keep it, but it's likely we'd lose it.
And I would say, not having enough parking on the boulevard right now, that's a good problem. I mean, that's obvious that there's a lot of activity going on down there.
It's a much better problem than I'm sorry for interrupting.
Well, and the other thing is, having lived all over the country, we've used traffic circles in different places, New Jersey and everywhere, and I would say that they move traffic along better than traffic lights do. And so I'm not opposed to the traffic circle. I think that would alleviate some of the backup on the boulevard itself. But I would be very much in agreement with the 60 days coming back. 60 days to review it.
And the other thing we had to look at is, have we looked at that traffic circle with a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit on Lancaster Boulevard? Because the last thing you want to do is back up a traffic circle.
We've looked at it, and we will show you, but we've looked at it with all conditions, pedestrian, flow, et cetera, design. We've talked to businesses as well.
Yeah, feedback that I've gotten from businesses now in the afternoon with that lit intersection at 10th and Lancaster Boulevard is that in the afternoon, starting around 4 o'clock, it actually backs up past Fern because of the controlled intersection. And based on my experience, at least taking in the people that are experts, saying that a traffic circle would alleviate that backup and get a smooth transition. Also, too, I hear that the Downtown Business Association has said that when people queue up and come down Lancaster Boulevard and come across 10th, they're still flying in there at 35, 40, 45 miles an hour, and it's not until they're way past the first intersection before they even start transitioning down. And I think that that traffic circle, again, based on what I've been explained, is that would potentially cue those guys up to slow down.
Okay. Do you want to amend your motion?
I think it would die for lack of second.
I'll second it.
The motion to pull?
No, the motion to direct staff to have a report in 60 days and take no action on the traffic circle until that report, and to put it back on the agenda for reconsideration at that time.
Okay.
The CIP only, correct?
Correct.
Right.
We don't want to put the whole budget back on.
No, just the traffic circle.
Just the one, not the whole CIP, the one.
That's correct.
Right.
With the report.
With the report.
I'll second that. Okay. Let's vote.
So not pulled.
It's
but delayed for
unanimous.
60 days.
Okay.
Any more discussion on the budget, or should we go through it?
Now let's vote. Is there a motion to approve the budget?
Well, we have several resolutions here. So the first one for the redevelopment agency, I'll move that we adopt resolution number 1211.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous.
I'll move that we adopt resolution number 13-11 for the redevelopment agency.
Mr. Mayor, you could take all of the redevelopment agency.
Want to do all the redevelopment?
You could take 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5.
Right. We've done. I have it. Thank you, Mr. McEwen. Now that we've done 1, 2, I'll move for the redevelopment agency that we adopt resolution number 1311, 1411, and 1511.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous.
And then also at that, for the city council, I'll move.
Is there any discussion on the city council recommendations? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt resolution number 1138, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 48.
Let's vote.
It's a second.
Oh, yeah, let's then, yeah. It's unanimous. I don't know why I don't look at that one. It's much clearer. I guess that because that's on my right, isn't it? Okay, is there any speaker cards on J and B1?
No, Mr. Mayor.
And let's waive the reading of the report. Any discussion? Let's have a motion.
I'll move for the agency, housing, and council that we adopt resolution number 11-11. Can I do all those together, Dave, or we have
They're
to do them
separate
separately?
entities,
Yeah,
so
separate
we need to
entities.
take them
The
separately.
redevelopment agency, 1111.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous.
For the housing authority, I'll move that we adopt resolution number HA01-11.
Second that.
Let's vote.
I'll move that under
Hold
this.
on. It's unanimous.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll move under the City Council recommendation to adopt resolution number 11-45.
I'll second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay. Are they here? Okay. Okay, new business item 1. Dave McEwen.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, you have before you a proposed amendment to the municipal code, which would provide for a modified method of filling vacancies that occur on the city council. Under existing state law, council has the choice of either appointing within a period of 60 days or calling for a special election to fill a vacancy when it occurs, either in the office of a city council member or office of the mayor. Under our municipal code, we took advantage of a slightly different code section that allowed the city to adopt an ordinance requiring a special election to fill vacancies. And so our existing municipal code requires a special election. Special elections are relatively expensive, and what is being proposed here is that if there is a vacancy in the city council, that within 45 days of the declaration of that vacancy, the mayor would appoint a person with the approval of the city council. If there's a vacancy in the office of the mayor, that position would be filled at the next general municipal election of the city, not a special election, but the next general municipal election. And in the interim, the person serving as vice mayor would assume all of the powers and duties of the mayor until that general election took place. At the general election, the person elected to the office of mayor at that next general election to fill the vacancy would be elected to a full 4-year term. So we would start that election cycle from that point forward with a 4-year term. The proposed ordinance, and I think there needs to be some additional language added to what we've already presented to you, in that if the mayor, if a council member resigns or the office becomes vacant, the appointment occurs and it's within 45 days, and that fills all the vacancies. If the vacancy occurs in the office of the mayor and the vice mayor then steps in as the mayor, that leaves us with a vacant council seat. And so we need to add some additional language that would provide that the person then serving as mayor would appoint a person to fill that vacancy until the date of the next general municipal election. And then everybody that it's appointed holds their offices until either the end of the term to which they're appointed or to the next general municipal election. Let me back up, and I'm kind of going back and forth on council members and the mayor, but if any person that is appointed to fill the office of a council member, when that seat becomes vacant, they serve for the balance of the existing term of that person. So it could be, upwards of 3+ years that they would serve. You wouldn't have to have a general municipal election for that office.
Yeah, but if they served up to the next general election, then there would be, and that was not their 4-year term, their normal 4-year term for that seat, it would just be for 2 years.
No, the way it's currently drafted is that they would serve out the full 4-year term.
Right, but what we want to change it to is they would serve until the next general election, at which time, if the seat was a 4-year seat, there would be an election for 4 years. But if it was only 2 years left, there would be an election for those 2 years, because I don't want the council seats out of sync. Right?
Right, I agree. That's why we had done it the other way, but your method would work as well.
Wouldn't that, if it ran till the next term or the next election, let's say it was a 3.5-year left to fill. I want to make sure I'm clear what the mayor's saying. But what we know interim, because every 2 years we're doing an election, they would really only serve 1.5 years.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then they would sit for election if they wanted to, but the election would be for 2 years.
2 years. Right, so we'd keep them in rotation. Okay.
Okay. So, with amending the proposal that way, is there a motion?
What happens if say the mayor makes a proposal and it's not ratified by the city council?
And he's got to pick somebody else until they do ratify it.
Until they do?
Yeah.
Is that the way it reads?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we have 2 speaker cards. Michael Rivas, present. We got David Aber.
Good evening again. I would suggest that we table this. This is a very dangerous motion, an ordinance. I don't see why we want to abandon the special election and remove the powers. It's like even the city attorney said additional languages being necessary here. I don't think this has been thought out at all, and that we're jumping to conclusions on trying to take away the citizens' right to elect our city officials. And I think we're tampering with the whole electorate process here. because we're a charter city. I think that we need to leave it as is. A special election is necessary. It's only $100,000. That's nothing the way you guys throw money away around. So, you know, I don't see where $100,000 is, it's just pocket change to you guys. And I think it's a very important right that's guaranteed by the Constitution to allow us to pick who we want to serve our city. Because I know, a lot of people aren't too happy with the leadership. I'm hearing in this room today that, none of us really know what we're talking about, and that was just one person speaking for 5, and boy, you can say that's out of context, but I don't think so. But, I urge you to table this until at least the city attorney can draft something. And on the staff report, I'll also note back to the staff report that you guys don't have 36.512 in there, so that I and the rest of the citizens have the ability to compare what is now the state law as compared to what your special election rule is. So, the language isn't clear, and I don't think that we need to be moving forward with this. Definitely not until the city attorney, who has made it perfectly clear here today that there needs to be additional language, and it's not clear what we're voting on. So I don't know how you guys can take a vote when there's not a clear-cut situation here.
Mr. Mayor, I have language.
Well, I just heard you say you needed to add additional language.
I said we need to add to what was presented to them tonight. That doesn't mean I don't have it.
Please.
Okay, well, then why don't we have it in here so that the citizens can see in the staff report and what's before us, so we can they can make an educated vote. And
Please
know
direct
what's before.
direct your questions to me and not the staff. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McEwen spoke, so, I don't get answers from you either, so what's the difference?
He's got a point. Okay, it concludes the public comment. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move that we introduce ordinance number 967 with the additional language.
Second.
Let's vote. And it's unanimous. Okay, new business 2.
We have no speakers cards on NB2.
We'll waive reading on that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll move to adopt resolution number 1147.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay. Council agenda. Item 1. Councilwoman Marcus.
CA1, I brought up this in light of some health trials my mom is going through, and just talked to Mr. Bozigan about the situation where I may have to take off and go help with my mom's situation in Florida. And so then I wanted to make sure that the 2 boards that I do sit on, as well as any other responsibilities, are taken care of in light of that. So I suggested that we go ahead and discuss appointing someone else to the AVTA and the AVA-QMD.
I might refresh your memory, too, that we did appoint Mayor Paris as the first alternate at the last meeting. This would be second and third alternates.
And it's Vice Mayor Smith and Councilmember Mann. And I don't care if you guys want to mix those up.
No, and you know what I was saying the last time, and that's why it's open for discussion here. Item B, I think, is what Sherry put on here: discuss and consider appointing alternates to various committees. Can we, instead of doing nominations or voting on every single one, can we make an overlying policy that any standing committee that we are a member of that isn't governed by state law, like you're automatically the main member of the sanitation board, I'm your alternate. If somebody can't fill in, either the mayor, the vice mayor, or standing in seniority of the council members can be the alternate. And then that way it's a blanket that covers everything. Is that possible, Mr. McEwen?
Yes.
Are you sure you were listening? Okay.
Blanket policy in which you take council members in order of seniority.
Okay.
Well, no, that's not correct. In order of position and then seniority, because it would be
Okay.
the mayor,
order
the
of
vice
position
mayor,
and then seniority.
and then seniority.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Is that good with you, Ms. Marquette?
Perfect.
Okay.
But wait a minute. I don't know that we can do that. I don't know that we can do that without putting it on the agenda.
It is. It's number B, discuss and consider appointing alternates to various committees and boards.
Is that adequate?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be my motion then.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let's vote. Okay. Oh. I'm not clear what we just did. That is after the alternate is unavailable, right? It does not make the vice mayor the automatic alternate. Okay. Is that correct?
Right. If there is no alternate.
Right. Okay.
I mean,
if there is no alternate available,
right,
then it would fall in that order.
Correct. Like
Okay,
if Ms. Marquez couldn't make it to the AVTA, then that would be you. If you can't make it, then that would be me. And if I can't make it, then that would be Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Chris, do you have a report on the Antelope Valley Transit Authority?
We did adopt a budget. We did hire a new auditing firm. I disagreed with it due to the fact that none of our local vendors were notified. Mr. Ledford decided that, or he said that it was, what do we have to do, hold their hands to get them to do it. So I was a little taken back by that remark. He said it's un-American. So
it's un-American to use local vendors?
Yes. So
Arlene, did you hear that?
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
Okay.
That was about it.
Maybe we should vote that it's American to use local vendors.
I think it's very important that we use local vendors, especially on all the things that we support. The city of Lancaster supports the AVTA financially, and I think that our citizens should be at least given a look at.
Yeah, or at least make sure that they're recognized so that they can participate.
Let's have on the agenda in the next meeting that it's the policy of the city of Lancaster that any agency we belong to should use local vendors whenever possible.
Okay.
And whenever it's consistent with the applicable law. And we may also want to put on it our concern about the idea that we should frustrate using local vendors in any way is inimical to what we're all about here. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could, even though it's not on here, the sanitation district did meet, but I don't have a staff report yet to present, so I'll present it at the next meeting.
Thank you. And just so we're clear, I have not attended a sanitation meeting. That I've entrusted that to the vice mayor because he has far more expertise in that area than I do, and I'm happy with.
Thank you.
Just as well, you'd probably have a headache.
Okay. No action on the Lancaster Financing Authority. The city manager, do you have any announcements?
3 short announcements. The first is an observation I think the council should be commended for worrying about the boulevard and being proactive. I would point out that it was only about 18 months ago that everyone was in front of us saying it will never work, no one will come. So I think we've made great progress in worrying about how to help all the people who are coming. Second, if you go on our website now, there's a great new feature. It's called Community Calendar, and it's essentially it is on the left side of the website. And we've combined all of the Lancaster events into one calendar, so you can see what's at LPAC, festivals, different programs we have, et cetera. So I think it's a really good community resource for what the city of Lancaster is doing. And the third, I'm very excited this year. We have the Fairgrounds 4th of July celebration Monday. Fireworks start at around 9 o'clock, a few minutes later. You can get there, I think it's at 8:15, correct, Bob? Grandstands open at 8:15. There is a PBR rodeo starting at 7. That is a paid event. The fireworks are free, and it's going to be a really exciting time. I hope everyone comes out, enjoys a safe and sane. But also remind everyone that fireworks are illegal in the city of Lancaster. Doesn't matter, safe and sane, whatever. If it's a firework, it's illegal. You'll get caught and you'll get fined.
You're so hard.
I've learned it from the best.
Okay, I'm moving up the executive session. We're going to do that now, and we'll be back after the executive session.
We'll call the meeting back into order. We are out of closed session. Let the record reflect that the mayor had to leave, and he has given the chair over to me. So, Mr. McEwen, could we have any announcements after closed session, please?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor and members of the council. The City Council did meet in closed session under Government Code Section 54956.9A concerning the Antelope Valley groundwater cases as listed on the agenda. Gave direction to council concerning the handling of that series of lawsuits. And they also met under Government Code Section 54956.9A concerning the Community Action League versus City of Lancaster United States District Court case dealing with Section 8. The direction in that case was to proceed with the filing of a cross-complaint against the county, both for indemnification and to bring them into the lawsuit as a necessary party, since they're the ones that are actually running the Section 8 program. The other action there was to authorize us to engage the services of Mr. Milton Grimes to assist the city in that lawsuit, and I will be making contact with him in the next day or so to iron out the details of that, and then we'll report back to the council on that.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time of the agenda is for public business from the floor. Madam Clerk.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for you to address the City Council on items that are not on the agenda. You'll find speaker cards at the back of the council chambers. We ask that you fill them out completely and concisely so that if the city manager or city council needs to get in touch with you, they will have your information. As much as we appreciate your request to make comments before your 3 minutes begin, please understand your time begins when you start to speak. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. If you choose to ask a question during this time, any response by council will not extend your time. When you approach the podium, you will see 3 lights. The green light comes on when your time begins, the yellow light comes on when you have 30 seconds left, and the red light comes on when your time is up. We ask that you be considerate of the allotted time to allow other speakers to have their 3 minutes as well. State law prohibits the City Council from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter will be referred to the City Manager. Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, you do have 3 minutes. There is a 30-second clock that I'll be reminding you of also. And please keep your comments to city business and what the council has authority to do. Our first speaker, Frederick Bakeman, I need to defer to Mr. Bakeman. Just wait for one moment, please. I need to defer to Mr. McEwen. Council, please.
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor and members of the council, I would caution you that this matter, I believe, is a matter of litigation. It's being mediated at this time, so there is absolutely nothing that we can do with respect to that, and since it is a matter of litigation. But he has the right to talk.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bakeman. Step forward. Now, we had to have the attorney say that first.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I wish Rex was here. My good friend, Bishop Henry Hearns, recommended I come to the council and present this, and I'd like to hand each one to each one of you, if that's...
No, if you could please just give it to
Well, they've
staff.
already got 3.
They'll pass them out. They don't like people stepping in the well there. That's the thing.
That's fine.
Otherwise, Cooper might come jump and tackle you or something.
No problem. I just want to be sure I'm an open book and everything's up front.
No, absolutely. I've known you for many years.
So anyway, what I'm here for was I feel that it is time for the city to take full responsibility, take care of the injury I had. For me, and it's been over 2 years. It's this problem I've been going through, and the city's jerking me around, playing games, and there was a hole in front of that church. And Public Works went out the next week and filled it up with concrete. It's on your logbook. Check it out.
Mr. Bakeman.
I'm sorry.
This is time for you to speak to us and
Yes,
not
sir.
to try to entertain a discussion with the staff. If you could, please just.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And anyway, I fell in a hole over 2 years ago, prevailing word, and I got hurt. I didn't do it on purpose. It happened. I was going into choir practice, and I got my whole left side got screwed up. And so what I was wanting to do, if they don't want to do what I'm talking about, that's why I want Rex here, because he keeps saying he owns the courts. He runs the attorneys and the lawyers and the judges over there. I want to change the venue to L.A. anywhere. I don't think I'm going to get a fair trial up here. And I made a decent deal over here. I presented 3 of them last week to the city. I want you to read it and look at it, and if you turn me down, that's fine. But I have a jury trial. August 25th is when I go to jury trial, and I'm trying to make a deal with the city. Let's make a deal is what I'm trying to do. If not, I would like to have a change of venue because I don't want to be up here. That's all I'm trying to present, and that's where I'm at. So I just want to get this thing off the dime, and I feel that I should be paid something for being hurt over 2 years and 3 doctors and 6 months in therapy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bakeman. Darlene Peterson.
Oh, I'm sorry the mayor left, but I think he understands what I'm going to talk about already, so...
Start the timer, Ms. Ryan. Please, thank you.
Yes, I want to start right at 3. I want 3 minutes.
You got 3 minutes. In fact, you got 3 minutes and 12 seconds.
Okay. Concerning the proposed roundabout at 10th Street West and Lancaster Boulevard, which, if built, I personally am going to call the Paris wheel. To reiterate what I said earlier this evening about adding more and more just because you can, please know when to quit. If the idea of a roundabout had been planned all along, then it is a plan not well thought out, because the newly structured boulevard has a left turn lane going south at Lancaster Boulevard at 10th Street West. That portion would have to be redone. What a waste of money. It makes me wonder if the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. The pro roundabout promoters may use the argument that it will save time, gas, and thereby money, etc. I think that's a lot of wishful thinking, and it's a real stretch. If you really want to save the taxpayers' money, don't build the roundabout, period. The amount of money we might accumulatively save is peanuts compared to the amount you will be spending on it. Make no mistake, grant money is still taxpayer money. Our fairy godmothers didn't drop it out of the sky. In the realm of dreams for the boulevard, that portion of it is a bad dream from which some of you should wake up. I am not naive enough to think that sometimes your minds are not already made up before the public lets their point of views be known. Case in point, one Lancaster council person designed and copyrighted the boulevard design, which is literally set in stone, meaning the sidewalks of Lancaster Boulevard. The design was in fact set in concrete, so to speak, before, and I repeat, before this council voted to officially designate the area from Sierra Highway to 10th Street West as the boulevard. So you see, some things in fact are a done deal before the council votes on it. I hope that will not be the case this time or ever again. Is that timing perfect or what?
You still have 26 seconds, 25, 24.
She's going to credit my account for the remaining. Right.
And Darlene, just so you know, yes, I'm the one that did the design of the boulevard, but that wasn't for the street. The Boulevard Association had already adopted calling it the Boulevard, and that's what it was for. So it wasn't necessarily a done deal.
That's really cutting it close when you put it on the sidewalk and you have an okay.
But not for, that wasn't the name of the street. The sidewalk was not the name of the street. That was the name of the destination. Right. Well, I could talk to you later. I'll explain it some more to you. I'll explain it to you later. David Paul. I think David's left. David?
Oh, we have
Okay. Barbara Mazels.
everybody while you were gone.
David Mazels. David Aber.
Good evening again. I'm a little concerned what the parameters are speaking before this board. Is freedom of speech no longer? I know you said to be on point when I spoke before. And
would you like me to explain it to you? Because I don't want you to misunderstand.
Yeah, if you want to stop my time, or
stop
if you
this
want
time, and I'm going to explain it to him real fast. Because when I run the meetings, I want to make sure everything's clear. You got tangential on the exact subject that you were actually talking on, even though you thought that it was somewhat related because it has to do with a business license and how we conduct CUPs for other businesses. That was not the specific action item that we were taking on at the time. That's the opportunity that you have now to talk about, okay, this is how you conducted it with the Bamboo Club. You should do this with all your businesses. See, now you've gone into another subject. We were not voting on our policy on how we handle CUPs. And so if we don't keep everybody on point, and we have people that come up here, you're not really one of the problems, but we have people that are coming up here that want to talk about everything in the world but what we're making a decision on. And it takes time away. So start his clock again.
with respect to now on non-agendized, anything I want to talk about I can, correct?
City business. Any city business. You can't talk about your summer vacation, David.
Well, you won't see me do that. So with respect to, the NB1 with the election situation
and you're also, just to
filling the
remind you,
vacancies.
it's you can talk about non-agendized items. We already did the agendized items.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, but filling the council vacancies, with the recent resignation of Andrew Weiner, at the urging of the president, for, let's just say, behavior that I would consider just questionable, not against the law. Same with Elliot Spitzer, the governor. He just made some bad decisions and stepped aside. Unlike Rob Blagojevich, who obviously tried to sell his seat and is facing some serious jail time. Having said that, we have a situation where, I was physically attacked, which is a criminal violation, which, if you take Spitzer and Weiner, who didn't even break the law, but yet the mayor of this town attacked me, which is a criminal act. This time, with your NB1, I'm calling for the resignation of the mayor of this town, okay? He doesn't want to take responsibility for his behavior, and now that we can appoint things, Mr. Chris seems to have very, very varied opinions, even though I don't agree with him all the time. But at least he speaks his mind, stands his ground, and stands up for what he believes is in the best interest of all the people, because we've had discussions on a few occasions with respect to that. And, you know, tonight in here when I heard the statement that none of us really know what we're talking about, I felt sorry for the four of you that are still here. And people can say it's out of context or whatever, but when one person speaks for all five of you and says you don't know what you're talking about, you know, I think we've got a problem here. And in order for this city to go forward and be a greater city, the mayor needs to resign immediately, because he does not show the compassion to all the citizens, and in the long run, it's not going to create a good atmosphere. When I go to the city council meetings in Palmdale, you stand 2 feet away and they discuss things and fully, and they debate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anita Smith? Is Anita Smith here? Lyle Talbot?
Well, this morning I was at McDonald's reading my opinion page, and the headline of the editorial this morning was "Something Wrong with the Justice System." And it's not about the city, but it's about a couple other cases. But I went home and adapted that headline into a letter to the editor. My letters regarding the Mayor Albert squabble seemed to get embargoed, so I'll read it to you. I am willing to place my 80-year-old reputation, on the line in defense of my good friend David Aber, whose reputation has been sullied by the highest-ranking official in Lancaster City Hall. Most others have offered to make peace for their past misdeeds with him, but not the aggressor himself. That person cannot humble himself to apologize for using a four-letter word to assault and then confessing on camera, Channel 7 TV, to battering him as well. That same official, I submit, has helped cause change for the better in this city, but he should add one more four-letter word to his vocabulary. That would be spelled T-A-C-T, tact. Thank you very much.
I don't think I see Maria Gutierrez here. I mean, I recognize her from the AVTA. So our last speaker card, Victoria Zavala.
Good
Hello,
evening.
Victoria.
Hopefully the best for last, right? I'm used to this by now.
Well, you had the last card put in. I
There you
don't
go.
shuffle them. It's just-
Well, anyways, I'm here to actually discuss a little bit of a public safety concern. I don't know if you guys are aware, but that there's an actual dispensary running in the city of Lancaster. It's down the street from Rex Parris's office, believe it or not. The reason I'm here is because I've had over 35 people today in a meeting saying, well, what are we doing about it, Victoria? You know, we've called to the sheriffs. I went to the sheriffs and left a message for Deputy Cooper. I went to the office and tried to get an appointment with you, Marvin Kristen Smith, because I think something needs to be done. The reality
I'm
is
sorry,
that...
you said you tried to get an appointment with me?
Yeah. I went to your office and I left a message, and I've called and I've left an email also as well.
I always get my notes. I would have called you back, so I apologize if there was a glitch.
So if we could try to sit down and get together, but the reality is that the address is 805 West Avenue, L8. It's Suite O, if I'm not mistaken. It's Melanie Croker. from Holistically Yours. And I'm not here to say, oh, shame on her. You know, get us all together at a table, all of us directors of these, you know, collectives, because Evergreen has 4 cars delivering. Green Medics has 6 cars delivering, okay? 661 is delivering. AVDC, people are going across, you know, Kern County. The reality is that, you know, let's face it, Safe Access is here. You know, people are establishing it. It's on the internet. There's more than one delivery collective service and shop. And, you know, Evergreen is thinking that they're getting away with it under Article 21 and 22 just because it's Jeff Blosch's building and he's renting privately from him. The reality is you need a city permit. And that's why I haven't gotten a place. That's why I'm still doing what I'm doing, advocating at the booths, you know, bringing Americans for Safe Access at Palmdale Night at the Square. I just feel that nobody is listening.
Are you selling at Palmdale Night at the Square?
No, we're going to be advocating for Americans for Safe Access. So it's all information and basically lobbying our local officials here to make them understand the bills that are going to be passing. Because I got off on a national call and I told them, what do you think I should do out here in the Antelope Valley? What do you think is my next result? Because Palmdale's listening. What are you guys going to do? Unincorporated areas aren't listening. They're just allowing it. So do you guys think it's okay for that many people to go in their cars and deliver medical marijuana and still turn patients away because it's not a maximum delivery? I just need to know if you guys are willing to help me to provide safe access here in the Antelope Valley. I mean, Lancaster is losing a lot of money, and there's a lot of illicit things that are going on. How many more grow-ops are we going to find in people's homes? And how many more people are going to get hurt for delivery? The reality is I need help, and I'm going to say it again. I'm not looking for a place on my own. I need assistance from the city. Do you know how many storefront churches are here? Over 288 in the Antelope Valley alone.
Thanks, Victoria. And please see Mr. Mozigian afterwards, or whoever he directs to, and we'll get the address of those collectives, because it sounds like a lot of people are not following the law. So thank you very much. Is that it? Council comments at this time. Do we have any comments from the council? Anyone? Chris? Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July. Happy, nice, and safe 4th of July. Okay, that being the case now, we are going to recess. And we are going to recess in honor of Angela Volta on June 28th, 2011, the regular scheduled meeting. A longtime resident of the Antelope Valley and beloved wife and mother and grandmother. So we are now adjourned. And I don't have a date on here, so July 12th, thank you. We are now adjourned until July 12th, 2011. Thank you.